Hello again, friends! I can't tell if those are chuckles of approval or not, but you are our friends, and welcome back to another edition of Jim Cornette's Drive Thru right here on a windy fall day somewhere, like here. But I'm your host, the great Brian Last. We got questions, we got reviews, we got programs, and so much more. With this man, the leader of the cult of Cornette, Mr. Jim Cornette.
Brian Last, not even your organ playing. You play the organ like a crippled crab in a cast. But not even your organ playing, ham-fisted though it may be, can dissuade me from being in a good mood today. I'm feeling pretty good today. I'm in a halfway decent mood. I'm looking ahead to the future with a more positive outlook, not because of the wrestling now, but just because of the cult of Cornette, the people, the listeners out there, and their wonderful support of my brand new book, Heroes and Friends. Now, I'm not even doing this as a commercial plug.
The earliest plug in show history, folks. Welcome to
it. It is available at jimcornette.com. But I'm not even doing this as a commercial plug, but it has gratified the cockles of my old crusty heart. Does your heart have any cockles, Brian?
In my crusty heart, yes.
Well, then every once in a while they need to be warmed, and it's warmed the cockles of my crusty heart. The outpouring of support for said publication, because over the weekend I was a little overwhelmed. It's a daunting task. I have signed personally well over 1,000 books already, and I got a couple thousand more to go, and the orders are coming in, and we've already arranged to have more printed. And I didn't know that I was afraid that, you hear people don't read anymore, but our audience, as we've proven, we had a nuclear astrophysicist the other day getting a PhD in his YOU? I don't know.
Dr. David, I believe is his name.
Yes, and not even Schultz. But we got a smart audience. They like to read, but more importantly, now that people have seen the book and the feedback is started, they've said, they didn't really know who a few of these guys were, but they loved the stories of their lives or my interaction with them because it's wrestling. And I'm glad that there's a classic wrestling audience out there. But however, me and the Featherbottoms are cooking, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. Well over the first 1,000 orders have already gone out, and we've got an assembly line process. But this is, even though I'm not going to have a lot of free time between now and Christmas, everybody loved the action figures. For years now, we have, sold buku of the action figures, but that wasn't an opportunity for me to really be creative and create something. It was just me. You know what I'm saying? For me, other people like to have figures of me, but I didn't actually make the figure of me, so I wasn't creating it. You see the difference here?
I do.
Well, I'm glad you concur with me.
I concur with it.
Anyway, this is what I was hoping for, is that there's an audience out there who likes not only classic pro wrestling, but the history and the individual stories and the photography, which I'm going to be doing more of. Because I don't know, Brian, if you will concur with this. I don't want you to just kowtow to me, but would you say, from having a large wrestling collection yourself of magazines and programs from all eras, that if I wasn't the best United States-based wrestling photographer of the late 70s, early 80s, I was certainly in the top 5? One would have to admit.
I mean, top 3 would be if you were sitting there and trying to debate who would be better, but I would say you're definitely top 3.
Well, thank you very much. One thing people can never say is that I've half-assed anything. maybe that time I was doing commentary in the high school gym on the guy's cell phone, fucking with a goddamn mic clipped to my chest or whatever. But I normally gave, my all for anything. And now I'm excited that the printing process in the United States has finally caught up with my photography after 40 years. You know as well as I do, and some of the kids out there may not. In the 70s and 80s, the best quality television production of wrestling and the best quality wrestling magazines were all in Japan. And those Japanese photographers, oh my God, I was jealous. But not only the equipment they had, but also the production of their television over there and the way the arenas were lit. And it was the difference between what WWE is now and, geez, would it even be TNA? Or maybe, well, now that TNA's upgrading, it was a big difference. And in the printing quality and reproduction, et cetera, over here of the photos and the television production compared to those days. And then Vince started flip-flopping everything. But, I'm hoping to do more with my photography is the point I was going to make there. And that's got me excited about being creative again, Brian.
Well, it's about time. I always wonder what Vince picked up where. In terms of merchandise, how much was what he saw running Cape Cod from rock bands? And if anything, what did he think when he first went to a New Japan show in the early 80s? At least 84. Like, what did he think when he saw that kind of setup? When he saw those magazines that were everywhere on the newsstand? Like, what did he think?
Well, that he probably was like, this is what I want to do, only he wanted to make it even bigger. But the reason for that, in the Japanese market in the 70s and 80s was because at the time, Baba and Inoki, they were network television. And goddamn, most of the video equipment came from Japan to begin with, so they had a head start in a variety of departments, and they had money to spend where the territories here, it was Japan, actually, when you think about it, was more of a modern-based model then than the United States was, because they were getting network television money in the production and et cetera. And obviously they still had their live gates and the merchandise and all that stuff, but it was a nationwide thing involving only two promotions with comparable talent. So it was a bit of a dogfight. But over here, the territories were still using the TV to draw the live gates. And very few people were putting any appreciable money into the television production.
But Heroes and Friends, of course.
Yes.
Celebrates that great time in wrestling's past. One more time, Jim, where can they get it?
Well, JimCornette.com is where you can get it. And as I said, the feather bottoms are kicking ass. And also because it's computerized, if you're just some poor soul that wandered in and wanted a t-shirt, you don't have to wait 6 weeks. Hotchkiss has that all separated out. If something like a t-shirt or one of Scott Teal's Madison Square Garden books that doesn't need my personal autograph, he's taken care of those. And we have also separated out all of the orders involving the various action figures, and boom, we've got that processed and ready to have labels put on it. So we're cooking. I think if you order now, there's every possibility you might get this right after Thanksgiving instead of by Christmas. But act quickly.
Before we get going, I had a thought recently, and what you just talked about reminded me a little bit of it, but Baba and Inoki were on network TV, but also they had been big stars for a long time. They were both the proteges of Ricky Dozan.
Yes.
Imagine if there was Twitter in 1963. Just imagine like what it would be like December 63. I saw someone point out, I never realized, I guess I never thought about how close together they died. Ricky
Destroyer.
Well,
or not Destroyer, my God, but
he died very far away from this period.
He died very far away, but
Ricky Dozan.
But when you said Ricky Dozan, I was at Gorgeous George.
Yeah, Ricky Dozan, December 15th, 1963. Gorgeous George, December 26th. So within
and the reason why I blurted Destroyer out is because obviously Destroyer had famous matches with both those fucking guys, and I'm a senior.
But isn't that crazy just that they died so close together? I never really thought of it that way before. I knew they both died. I kind of knew when they died. I never thought like, oh, it was within 2 weeks at the end of the year, right after Kennedy got killed.
When you said if there had been Twitter, and then after you had referred to Baba and Inoki as being such big stars and etc., I thought you were going to say if there'd been Twitter, everybody would have known what the fuck Ricky Dozan was up to and what all was going on in the entire business, and Baba and Inoki would have been working at the fucking Japanese McDonald's.
Nope, that wasn't what I meant.
Think about it. If there'd been Twitter, they'd have known he was Korean.
You know,
they'd have run him out of the country. And then the whole Yakuza pinky finger fucking set, that would have been 30 years earlier and the whole thing would have been shot. If there'd have been Twitter, we wouldn't have had anything for the last 40 years or 60 years that would have been any fucking good.
All right, well, Jim, on the topic of wrestling.
See, I'm in a good mood
today.
You're
in a great mood. This has been a fantastic show so far, and we only have Saturday night's main event to come.
Oh, come on now. You're I'm in a good mood, and you're maligning the show already. It's not my fault. You missed your notes on the organ.
All right. Well, I didn't miss any notes on the organ. Who told you that? Well, forget it. Let's go now, Jim, to another topic.
No, you didn't miss most of them. You ran them down several times.
Jim, as you hear the wind behind me, what has become a popular topic to be sent into CornyDriveThru@gmail.com and posted on the YouTube page, the Facebook page. There's a clip. It's only 4 seconds. Let me play you this, and we may have to play it a couple times to get the full grasp of it. This is Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, this clip, talking to his co-host Garrett Gonzalez.
Long run, you end up back where you were, just with a lower price. So, anyway.
I'm going to play that again. Again, Dave's doing the talking. His phone goes off, and he has it set to announce who's calling.
In the long run, you end up back where you were, just with a lower price. So, anyway.
So, of course, it says Tony Khan. Now, maybe this is a diversion. Maybe it's not Tony Khan. Maybe it's Chris Jericho. No. But it's Tony Khan. What are your thoughts on this?
Can I just hold on just a sec? For one thing, we've established that Dave Meltzer is, I believe, either a year or a year and a half older than me, and I'm now 64, and he's got a phone that not only plays that fucking tune, but it says the name of whoever's calling. What the fuck is it? He's got to be one of the kids, doesn't he? Here's another thing. You ask any man in the wrestling business back in the 70s and 80s, if they wanted a phone that when it rang, it would announce the name of the person it was calling, and that guy might be in the fucking grocery store with his wife pushing the cart that he may be using when he's homeless after it says, "You're a whore from Richmond." So what in the world? He's a senior citizen. Just have a phone that fucking rings, you dipshit. And here's another thing. The tune. Why would you, if you were, he's on the air. I stick my phone, usually when I think about it, over on the other side of the office, where occasionally people hear my phone ring because I honestly don't remember how to turn the fucking bell up and down. So I just stick it over there on the other side of the couch. But point being, It just rings. It did whatever that fucking calliope told the kids going around on the merry-go-round, and one kid falls off and breaks his leg, and then they call Stephen P. New at 877-50-STEVE, but I digress. So Dave is sitting there, he's on the air, and this thing goes off, and I guess they're doing this live because they couldn't.
So anyway,
they couldn't take it back. So again, does he walk around when he's in the post office standing in line? Does that annoying music and Brian Alvarez name pop up or whatever? Does he have to announce to the world who he is in contact with?
And what does that make you think if you're a source? He'll be at one of his pay-per-view parties and the phone goes off and...
I was about to say, yeah, he's one of these fucking get-togethers or media scrums, and there's, Tony Khan's in the room, and there's one of his goddamn wrestlers calling Dave to fucking complain about him. And who knows what... Jesus Christ, if Woodward and Bernstein had done that, we'd have known who Deep Throat was before Linda Lovelace even broke into movies.
In the long run, you end up back where you were, just with a lower price. So anyway.
Well, the other thing is, beyond the hilarity of the fact that Tony Khan is calling him in the middle of a show.
Yeah.
It's the fact that Tony Khan is calling him. We talked about this recently. Tony Khan relies on Dave. He has from day one. The first hire they made was recommended by Dave. Dave may not be an official consultant of AEW, but he's absolutely a consultant of Tony Khan's. I'm not saying there's even money exchange, but Tony uses Dave as his sounding board. And Dave really loves that position, to be quite honest.
Well, I don't know what kind of positions Dave loves. I'm not going to delve into his personal life. I'm just asking you, have we put the donkey before the fucking horse there? I'm wondering if we've been saying Tony's a rotten booker. Tony, he's not. Should we be blaming Dave? Is Tony just getting instructions from Dave? And this is Dave, because Dave certainly loves this wrestling. He defends it as if it was his own offspring against all logic and reason, against many of his former friends of a previous generation who think he's lost his mind. He will die on that. This is a hill, if ever that term has come to fruition any better, this is a hill he will die on. So can you like the shit that anybody else does this much? Or does it have to be yours? And if that's the case, then have we wrongfully maligned poor old Tony Khan when he just taken instructions from Uncle Dave?
Well, you said, should we blame him? I've said in the past that he has fed into some of Tony's worst instincts. And I think you have two guys, even if you think everything's kosher, you have two guys who are both in the same wrestling bubble. Because that's what it is. It's a bubble of thought that seems to be incapable of acknowledging, understanding, admitting anything else could be right. Tony, I believe, just said the last pay-per-view was one of his favorites. And I also think I've heard him say that about every single fucking pay-per-view there's been. And Dave has defended everything against Alvarez, against his own partner, against Reason. Gives star ratings for what in 2025 is a middle-of-the-road average match, could be 4 stars. Maybe higher if he likes the people in it, and it's a match that he doesn't like. If you're someone he likes and you have a match that he finds disgusting, 5 stars. That's what it seems. How many times did we joke about it? I don't like this kind of match. For those who like this kind of thing, 5 stars. But Dave has always been Tony's unofficial consultant. And whether it's the deal with CM Punk or anything else, Tony sought Dave's advice on these things. And I think if there was ever a true story of AEW written, the relationship, for an old term we'll use now, the correspondence between Dave and Tony would be a big part of the story. And this just bears it out, because we've been saying it. He's literally getting called in the middle of the thing it didn't say Nick Khan. It didn't say any other name. It was the one name you would suspect would call him. You know, Dana White. So it wasn't any of that. It was Tony.
How often must it happen if it just in this random instance? But here's the thing. I'm wondering, can somebody figure out some way to sue both of them so we can subpoena the correspondence between the two of them? Because I would donate
877-50 Steve.
Well, and if he could get that information, I would donate it for study to the American Psychiatric Association, free of charge.
The other thing is, it's, you know, again, I'm just amazed by this whole thing. Dave's sitting on his couch. The phone is not on silent. The phone is right next to him, I guess, in case a big tip comes in the middle of this show.
But I'm just trying to imagine, and I know, and if I say this in the wrong way, then Uncle Dave will jump all over it. Yes, Vince McMahon and Dave Meltzer had numerous phone interactions back in the day, ranging back to the 80s. I'm not saying they didn't speak on a phone. Let me make that perfectly clear. Numerous of times. But one, I can't imagine fucking Dave having it. Was that a special ring for Tony? Does he have to program it in? Whatever, his numbers in the phone there, whatever. But I can't imagine Vince and Dave having the conversations that you can see Tony and Dave having. Oh, it was a great match. Oh, yeah, when he did that shooting star press. Oh, yeah, but whoa, the keg came out in a boom and whatever the fuck that they're talking about. It was a goddamn a game for Vince to not only take the temperature of what was going on in the world and see what Dave was going to be saying, and see which potential problem might be coming up. But it was Dave trying to get a scoop of some kind or a statement but there was no, I can't even say collegial relationship. There was no banter. What's the proper way to say this, Brian? The difference in the conversation that you know is taking place.
Tony and Dave are two friends and wrestling fans who think and behave similarly. Vince McMahon is a cutthroat, seeking information, seeking at times to twist things into his narrative, and it certainly didn't always work.
Yes.
But I think it's part of a... There are people who talk to the press because they want their story out there, and there's people who talk to the press to find out what the press knows.
And there are people who talk to the press when the press likes them to get together on how great they are.
Again, it's Tony. If it was anyone else, well, I shouldn't say. If it was Jericho, people are like, yeah, I knew it. But, if it was most other people, you'd be surprised. But it was Tony. And it's not like that's not the name. Well, yeah, no,
that's the rib. We don't expect that nobody in the wrestling business or no big name in combat sports ever calls Dave Meltzer. But it's ludicrous that it's the one guy that is that makes it funny. They're almost Siamese twins now.
In the long run, you end up back where you were, just with a lower price. So anyway.
And by the way, he quickly went to his pocket or next to him on the couch or whatever it was, and boom, and hit whatever button you hit on these things. Yeah, he's a walking stooge report, isn't he? He's just walking down the street and people's names are being shouted out. Yes, him too.
You're a whore from Richmond.
I'm glad he wasn't around during the McCarthy era. There's another 15, 20 years of good entertainment we'd have lost.
I mean, that is the other move. Like if you were having an affair and like had a mistress, You put Tony Khan. So like when it comes up, because then people believe it. Oh, of course Tony's calling Dave. That makes perfect sense.
Oh, Tony's got to spend a ton of time on a phone. How long do you think Ricky Morton used to have a line he'd pop the locker room with? In like 1989, he'd say he'd forget about something or just something would come up. He'd say, well, hell, I hadn't slept since 83. Do you think Tony Khan has slept since 2019?
Again, look at a picture of him at the start of AEW. Look at him now. It looks like a man who has gone through a lot and slept very little. And that's not even talking about his football duties. And of course, the one thing you always hear about whenever anyone criticizes him, his sports analytics.
Yeah.
His well-known sports analytics company that he's so clearly not busy with at all.
I think you should take Idix off of that.
I guess we could do that.
Just take the Idix off of that.
That's the latest update in the Dave Meltzer relationship saga. Jim, as we move forward here with this show.
Always moving forward, never falling back.
Tony gets advice from Dave about the booking and wrestlers and what to do, what could be done differently. Dave's thoughts on how to apply history to this stuff for a lot of guys that hate history and don't want to hear about how anything was in the past. But what he doesn't do is say, Dave, how can I sell? What Tony doesn't do is say, Dave, can you help me make my business more efficient online? I think we could say for sure Tony doesn't say, Dave, help me with my e-commerce. But you know what? We know someone that Tony could run to, and so could anyone else out there, whether you're a billionaire or not. And that is our good friends at Shopify.
Because at Shopify, we run to you. Oh, yeah, we run to you. And I'll tell you what, you can run to them too, and then they will run you right up the flagpole, and people are going to start saluting you because they're going to make your business bigger, better, badder, bolder, and more profitable than ever before. They're going to bully people into spending money with you. They're going to put you out there.
That's not how it works.
They are going to make people sick of hearing about you. Your name and your business is going to be in front of people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm talking social media campaigns and email campaigns. You're not going to be able to get away from anybody. Doesn't matter. There's going to be people peeping in your windows to get a look at you. They're going to cause so much attention to what you're doing and who you are. And then
come on, Inoki.
They're going to have all those people start sending you money. And all you got to do is fulfill some little deal like, I don't know, send them something back. That's all you got to do.
Well, again,
and then you're going to hear the cha-ching.
You will hear
of the cash register.
Again,
because ching, ching, ching goes the trolley, ding, ding, ding goes the bell. And zing goes my heartstrings when Shopify tells everybody to go to hell unless they send you money.
That's not what they're going to tell anyone to do. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Shopify, a trusted resource. We use them for our online business. Get shirts for this show, The Drive Thru. ArcadianVanguard.com. You know who powers that? Shopify. We trust them. You can too. Our very good friends in a professional way.
I've been meaning to ask you about that. My cut of the shirts last month wasn't what I think it was supposed to be. I'm thinking that somebody may have been dipping in, but certainly not Shopify.
It wouldn't be Shopify. It would be me, but it wouldn't be me. I wouldn't do that. So what are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about Shopify making your brand relevant because they're the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all the e-commerce in the United States. So who are you, Antonio Inoki, to tell me that Shopify can't make you money?
God damn it.
What if you can't design a website? Well, they got you from the get-go. And would he shut up, please?
Okay.
I'm telling you, he's always interrupting, especially when he gets aroused. If you can't design a website, Shopify's got you from the get-go, and they got you by the pubic hairs then. and they're going to design the website for you.
Don't take advantage.
Well, I'll tell you what, you just need to supply some photos of yourself.
No, you don't. No,
various positions.
Let's not go down this road. No, they do.
They will dictate to you, and they'll make you a website, and then it'll sell your various products across the lands, far and wide, and the oceans and the valleys and the oceans white with seed.
Again, your great products, whatever you may be doing, whatever you may be selling that is of decency. Of course, Shopify is there to deal with you. No pictures requested. And of course, they don't accept unsolicited photos. So let's just think about business. Well, now, wait a minute.
When I talked to the one guy, he asked for some pictures, but we were on the phone for a while. And what if you get stuck, ladies and gentlemen? Well, in that case, you can call Stephen P. No, Shopify is always around to share advice because they have award-winning 24/7 customer support. So if you need help with anything 24/7, they are there. Say you have a fight with your wife and she walks out the door, you think she's having an affair, call these people. They're going to support you because you're their customer.
That's not how it works. They're not going to.
What if you need advice on whether to move to a new job in a new city and start your life over? They've got award-winning customer support people to support the customers 24/7. Call them up in the middle of the night.
Don't call anyone up in the middle of the night. Ladies and gentlemen, they are there to support you.
It says 24/7.
They are there to support your business.
What if you need help now?
Your business and the business you are doing with them, not your marital issues. And we hope you don't have any. Ladies and gentlemen, a good day starts.
I'm talking business. What about if a guy wants to change jobs and look for a new life and move out west and live in the heat of the desert and work in a goddamn horse stable? That's business. And they're going to support you, ladies and gentlemen. You can turn
anything. What does that have to do?
Because it's turning your dreams into money and reality with the people at Shopify that can give you a new lease on life and a new purpose somewhere out in the middle of Arizona with a cow.
They could let you keep your current purpose and just be there to help you.
Can you keep your current cow?
With your special purpose.
Do you know what your special purpose was in a great literary classic? Well, nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen, once again, regardless of what you do with your special purpose, you can sign up right now and do one thing with your $1. And that is sign up for a $1 a month trial period and start selling today at Shopify.com/Cornette. It's a Cornette / and you gotta differentiate because that's the way you're going to get the $1 trial period. Shopify.com/Cornette, $1 a month. Lady, I was trying to. $1 a month trial period at Shopify.com/Cornette, and you can cha-ching yourself into success. It's what you can do.
They are there for you
yourself,
like they are there for us. Obviously, we could use someone there for us. You could tell our good friend Shopify.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying call them up in the middle of the night. Just ask, "Are you there for me? I need somebody there for me."
Let's not do that, but Shopify.com/Cornette is a way you can protect yourself. Maybe that's not the way to put it, but help your business, help yourself.
Well, no, yeah, I mean, they'll come over with a couple of baseball bats if you think somebody's coming over.
They love baseball, and if you have a baseball business, they'll be there to protect you and your business. But once again, Shopify.com/Cornette. And Jim, on that note, before we continue down this road, let's go back to Saturday night. One more Saturday night, as the Grateful Dead once sang. And let's go to our conversation, your review of Saturday night's main event. All right, here we are.
Jesus Christ, that woke me up. That was a quick trip.
It was a quick trip. I'd like to say it was a quick Saturday night's main event, but it wasn't. Wasn't that it was longer than normal. I guess it's just that less. Well, I don't want to spoil anything. I mean, some people love everything they see, but Saturday night's main event was on. It was a tough night up against the World Series, Game 7. A classic game and a classic series.
Yeah.
And I also didn't realize it started at 7 o'clock until just before 7 o'clock. I thought it was 8 o'clock. So luckily I figured it out.
Well, they were out in Salt Lake City. You expect them Mormons to stay up all night? They go to bed early.
On Sunday.
Are they
Saturday.
allowed to get
Saturday,
up on
actually.
Sunday? And see, it's sad. That's why it was Saturday, because Mormons aren't allowed to get up on Sunday.
I was thinking of pay-per-view. It wasn't a pay-per-view. It was Saturday night's main event streaming on Peacock.
What was it? It wasn't a premium live event. It wasn't a network special. It was on Peacock. One of the malingerers on Peacock before they shove the bird out the door and they go full in on with their new lover. It wasn't any longer than normal. It just seemed like it, because there were 4 matches in a 1 hour and 50 minutes. Because I watched it afterwards without. I still got commercials, but probably not as many as I would if I'd have watched it live. It was an hour and 50 minutes long. But if you just went bell to bell, it was 45 minutes? And
Maybe.
It takes a while in between to get things accomplished, such as long exits and lots of spots and plugs and piffle toffle and then big entrances and then boom shakalaka. But did we get a Stooge report yet on the attendance? Because I said SmackDown looked a little puny.
Oh, no, there are pictures of SmackDown going around. I think I mentioned it to you the other day. We don't know what part of the show it's from, but opposite the camera was empty. And you are starting to hear whispers.
Which never happens to them.
No. Now, again, they're in there for a weekend. They're running multiple shows, but I also think maybe there might be a slight cool down on SmackDown Live tickets.
Well, that's the point I was making the other day on the show that we did a day ago or whenever it was, that they're in Salt Lake City. So they got a captive audience out there in the middle of nowhere. It's people coming from Salt Lake City. You're not going to just, hey, let's drive over to Salt Lake City and go to the wrestling matches. So, and they're there for 2 days. And for the Saturday night's main event, they also had a kind of not a big stage, but a big wall. So I'm wondering if did we ever get a report on attendance, or are there any Stooges in Salt Lake City?
I will see what we can find out about that while we talk about this. And of course, they were in Salt Lake City.
That's what I just said.
No Jesse Ventura.
And that was a plus. That was a positive, because I know you on the first Saturday night's main event, and I'll go along with it, for the first one back, and it was a bigger deal than now these lame ducks that they're, doing to probably get out of their contract. If for the first show, okay, he was passable. You, with your preferences, had your rose-colored 80s glasses on about Jesse. My rose-colored glasses are tuned to the 60s and 70s, so I wasn't as impressed. But since then, what has he added? And it got the embarrassment the time before last when he argued about he was right, but he was making their own show look stupid. What was the topic? What was he? He wouldn't leave it alone.
Oh, imagine if he was there for the main event, or not the main event, I guess, the first match, Cody and Drew. Imagine if he was there for that finish.
Well, not even for he would have spent 10 minutes on why did the champion come out first instead of the challenger. But the point is, Jesse, how old is he now? I'm just saying, he hasn't been anything to write home about on the last few shows, and I'm not surprised they just said, Jesse, why don't you stay home this time?
Jesse Ventura is 74 years old. Governor Ventura. Excuse me.
Okay, well, then make sure that, Brian, remind me by the time I'm 74 not to do network TV fucking major broadcasts because I won't be able to keep up. Nevertheless, they went right into it. They've got 2 world titles and they've only got 4 matches on the card. So because of what they did last, apparently they thought, okay, we'll do this one first. Cody and Drew on the first match. The title can change hands via disqualification or count out of ring. And this was the best match because there was nothing the matter with it. Nothing went wrong. Both guys are over. It's, they know what they're doing. But at the same time, if this was the best match on the show, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the match, but they just kind of moved it up and stuck it in here because all their other plans went to shit. So were you really ready for it?
I hated this match.
Okay. Then apparently you want to shoot everybody else on the show.
I was in the middle of this match is when it hit me like, oh my God, how are they going to fill up the whole show? How long is it going to be if this is how long this match is going to go? I thought it went forever. I thought it almost felt like they were in slow motion at times to me. I don't, and then the finish, I don't want to spoil you talking about it, but the finish was like, what the fuck just happened? Did he turn? Did he not turn? Should he turn now? I don't, I feel bad for Drew. Is Drew now
Slowly
the baby?
I turned.
Yeah. But let's talk about it.
Well, and I mean, I took notes on this match, and again, like I said, technically, all their shit looks good, and they put a smart match together where they worked the stipulations early. Drew was trying to goad or coerce Cody into getting disqualified, or then at one time he dumped him into the orchestra pit out there trying to get him counted out, and Cody made the count back at 9, and that got a pop.
Yeah, that was pretty good. It really did look like he maybe counted out for a second there. That was really good.
Well, yeah, also because the way he got there was Drew tackled him off the apron, and he went through the goddamn, over the table, into the goddamn, the milling throng. But the thing is, they're smart. And they can adapt on the fly. At one point, Cody's going to do a spot where he ran to the corner and came off with a Cody cutter, and the referee was in the way for a shoot, actually in the way, not knowing. And so Cody buckled his knee on the turnbuckles and kind of crumpled and let Drew work on the knee for a while, and then they went back to the spot. But and Michael Cole, let's bring him up before we forget to.
Brian, you're too hard on Michael Cole. He's the best ever. You can't do what he does. He's so good. He's the least of their problems.
Oh my God, I hear it every time I tell the truth about this. And he said something here that flabbergasted me. I went back 3 times to rewind it. Eventually I wrote it down and tweeted it out. My God.
I wrote it down too. Michael Cole said that this was the 40th anniversary, which he saw this on Twitter, by the way. The 40th anniversary of Dusty Rhodes' famous Hard Times promo, which is true. And that's what cemented Dusty Rhodes as a global star. In 1985.
On Worldwide.
That would be, on Worldwide. That would be like, and the Gettysburg Address cemented Abraham Lincoln as a coming up politician.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's a great promo. It's a fantastic promo. In a vacuum, it's a great promo. It was not a promo talked about ever, in my circles at least, until WWE put it out on DVD.
I was 75 feet away from him when he did it in the locker room at the TV taping. And because you know what that was to Dusty? Tuesday. He did those promos all the fucking time. He did them at Crockett's office for the local promos for Philly and fucking Charlotte and Atlanta and wherever. He did them every Tuesday night at the syndicated tapings. And they weren't all that good. They were in the ballpark. Some of them probably, if we went back and looked, were even better. But that's the one they put on the DVD. But we've talked about this before. It wasn't like Dusty came back and said, wow, I wowed them. You know, with that one, no, it was Tuesday. But the point is, he'd been a global star for fucking 10 years.
Yeah, he had been a global star. He had been one of the biggest drawing cards in North America. He had been booked in Japan. He was a major draw to the point where he was getting booked out of his own territory everywhere.
Yes.
Years before. This was the winding down of his career, not the height of it in any way. It would be like if, you know, Jim, I don't know if you know this, today is the 40th anniversary of Jim Cornette's Here They Are, Lean, Mean, Slick, and Quick intro in Mid-South for the Midnight Express, which cemented him on the national stage as a voice to be heard. It's just like nonsensical. I don't even know if you call it a rewriting of wrestling history. I guess it is.
It's just something that Michael Cole probably believes it because he wasn't cognizant of what was happening at the time. He was in a different world.
Can you imagine how different things would be if, for mid and late 80s Crockett, people focused more on the promos that were on the syndicated shows as opposed to TBS?
Well, that's, you know, again, it was the same kind of promos. We didn't like save the A material for TBS. We all did the promos the same, regardless of what TV show it was for. And in some cases, some of the guys got more time on syndication.
Yeah, and a lot of fans only know the stuff from TBS because a lot of that syndication stuff just isn't in circulation, or if it is, you have to really search for it. WWE doesn't put it out. There are loads of fantastic promos that there's a generation of fans that could, you know, they can go discover that. But yeah,
and much better matches on syndication, actually, because even the level of the job guys was up because it wasn't the 2 hours of squash matches that you'd get a lot of times on TBS on Saturday. It was the George Souths and Italian Stallions and Gary Royals and those guys doing jobs and more main event matches because we were in arenas.
And screaming fans. Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yes.
But anyway, Hard Times. It's a fantastic promo, but I did not hear any wrestling fan anywhere say a word about it throughout the 90s.
But anyway, so back to Cody and Drew. And again, they had gone to do that spot. The referee was kind of in the way, which again was a shoot. And then they went back to it. And then it made it kind of even worse that in the finish, Drew was going to shove Cody into the referee, which he did. And the referee goes down from getting squashed in the corner. But I've seen people on fucking security videos get hit by cars and be up quicker. This was the thing that, to me, you talked about the finish that I thought is a good match, good story they told, good work they did. But then the finish took the wind out of it because the referee goes down and he's down for so long, and Drew headbutts Cody and goes out and gets the title belt and swings it, but he misses. And Cody and Drew have a double knockout, and then they're both selling. And the poor referee is still down. And then Cody, the belt was in the ring. Cody grabs Drew and DDTs him on the belt and then tosses the belt out. So,
which Wade Barrett in the role of Jesse Ventura immediately pointed out that's a heel thing to do.
Yes, and you could almost hear a murmur of like, even though Drew brought it in.
No, you heard it from the fans, yeah.
But let's face it, they had to give Drew as many outs as possible because he needs to win something. Because he's a great talent and he's been doing these incredible promos, and his whole thing is he gets screwed, but he needs to win something to keep in the game before it gets, I think part of the thing that got him over was he did have legitimate gripes that he should have got this or he should have got that. But if he doesn't win something, then Either he's cursed by a gypsy or you see what I'm saying. But anyway, Cody DDTs him on the belt, tosses the belt out. The referee gets up, luckily, and Cody hits the Crossroads 1, 2, 3. So I wasn't as down on the match as you were, but I think I'm as down on the finish as you are.
Yeah, again, maybe I was just being unfair to the match. It, to me, did not really hit until the end. It kind of got a little hot. And then, again, you kind of start hyper-analyzing things. You're like looking at Cody's facial expressions. Was there any sign of being a heel here? It's just such an interesting thing to do. The fact that the fans did have a audible reaction is maybe the biggest story here. Because if they didn't, if they cheered, Hulk Hogan wrestled like a heel when he was a babyface. If you ever watch, he's scratching people's back, raking their, doing all sorts of shit. And the fans are eating it up.
But the old rule then was the babyface can do it back to the heel. The heel has to do it first. But these people are a little pickier.
But it also, again, put thoughts in my head. Watching Drew slumped against the ring, I was thinking, man, I kind of feel bad for this guy. I kind of want to cheer this guy. Cody, I don't know. I've thought that there was a little bit of a downgrade in his popularity for a little while. But if he's going to start doing stuff like that, it's going to be interesting to see how, maybe it's just the finish of this match and that's it. He'll go back to being, the milk drinking, walking old ladies across the street.
What's Cody going to do next here? What's up for Cody?
What do you want to see him do?
What do you want to talk about?
No, you've always been a big supporter of his, even in the past, like in AEW, when I had problems with what he was doing. You were one of the last people. You kind of always have seen the best in Cody. You've seen how they've been booking him. You see where he is. What do you think he should do next?
Well, apparently we are not going to get a rematch between Brock Lesnar and John Cena. That's pretty much obvious at this point. So they just decided to just have Brock just beat the piss out of Cena. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind Cody and Brock for the belt is a money match. I don't know whether I want to see a program at this point between them. Promos and personal issues and animosity. You know who the best person in the company is at that? It's Punk. But then there's the problem is that if Cody hadn't been bickering and fighting other baby faces, that would be nominally, just a wonderful thing. And I love Punk's heel persona, but it ain't the time for that because they like Punk too. You could get a big match out of Cody and Punk as baby faces, but you can't get that personal issue like with Punk and Rollins or Punk and Drew. Rollins is out of the picture and probably needs a rest from all these people for the foreseeable future. Anyway, so what do Cody do?
The biggest thing that hasn't been done, and I'm not saying they're going to do it here, but, hearing you talk about this just makes me think about it. Cody and Punk, not like, hey, let's have a match, but I mean an actual program. It's the most interesting thing either guy could do. The problem would be inherently, Cody will start getting booed. Even if Punk turned heel, I think Cody would get booed against Punk.
Yes, because Punk's supporters are more adamant about supporting Punk, regardless of what the writers say. And Cody has already been. See, that's why I said if he hadn't been, I'd still like it. If he hadn't been, fighting these other crossways with these other baby faces, and or had been made to look kind of weak for a while there. He's had a bad year between the Rock's interference and the Cena thing, all that stuff, right? But nevertheless,
what options are there? Dominic's a champion. He's never really had a big run against a world champion, but he has a championship. There's something there already.
Yeah, but it ain't a money match right now.
Braun and Bronson, I mean, I guess technically you could have one go for Punk, one go for Cody. But I don't know if that's the right thing either. The Drew thing's over. Rollins is gone. The Usos, I don't want to see that. Roman, whenever he shows up, a Roman Cody thing, I guess there still is some unresolved stuff. Roman needs to get his win back. The Rock, if he's going to show up, he's going to show up again in the next few months. If he shows up, is he going to do something with Cody? Even if it doesn't lead to anything, is that what they're going to do? I mean,
right now, if I was Nick Khan or Ari Emanuel or one of these upper crust high head honchos, if The Rock wanted to get in a ring again ever, I would say as soon as you put Cody over, and we'll talk about other matches. But at this point, what the fuck? If he's going to wrestle again, we need to resolve that. To me, Braun Breaker and Punk for the title is the WrestleMania match because of the Paul Heyman involvement, and that'll be brilliant. Or maybe Cody can just do commentary and cut promos with Bob Caudle on the hard times he's having.
I don't know about that. That may be a bit of a stretch, but, Cody could, Jim, possibly, potentially, use a good night's sleep.
Well, that's what a lot of people can use. And boy, I'd like to have one because since they changed this daylight savings time, I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning and it's pitch black. But folks, if you go to sleep on a Helix sleep mattress, well, when you wake up, you won't know what time it is. You'll be completely disoriented. You won't even remember your own family. That's how good you're going to sleep.
It won't do anything. It won't do anything.
You woke up last week and called the cops and said there's some woman and several children in my house. Can you come and take them away?
I can't comment on that publicly, and you know that. But the point is that whatever Jim said that I already was thrown off from, that was wrong. And let's talk about what's right.
We'll talk about what's right. That's getting a good night's sleep and refreshing yourself, recharging your body's clock and your body chemistry. As a matter of fact, Helix, one of their new mattresses that they've come out with, it helps balance your body chemistry. There's a tube that comes up out of the mattress, and you put it in like an IV in a main vein.
Tube. No, just no
when you
tube.
go to bed, and overnight you are recharged and re-energized.
Jim, one of the great things about Helix sleep mattresses is that you don't even have to make up crazy things because they're so good that people will get a good night's sleep because the mattress will be exactly what they want, and we're over here now.
Yes, and it'll come to your door with several armed, burly men carrying it because they guard these things closely to make sure nobody contaminates them.
It will be normal delivery.
With an armored car, and it'll come in a box, and you just take it. Take it to the room that you want it to be in.
That's right.
And then you slice it open and duck, because that's son of a no. It comes up with a pleasing. And it's not like these big old-fashioned mattresses where you had to lug them in sideways and throw them in the window somehow. And boom, when you lay down on that thing, well, you're going to be sleeping instead of with the fishes, you're going to be sleeping with the angels. It'll send you up instead of down. And they've got mattresses for anybody. If you sleep hot, you sleep cold, you like to sleep on your back or your front. As a matter of fact, we've heard from a number of people. It's a new thing, Brian. They're nailing it up to the wall and just kind of backing up into it at night. And that way, when they wake up in the morning, they can get started with their day even quicker. That's the executive model for you workaholics.
I don't know about that. And of course, for you sleepaholics, they have great mattresses that are available for public viewing on their website. You can go check it out for yourself and pick what's right for you. Just like we have done.
As a matter of fact, that's another thing. After you've had this mattress, the Helix Sleep mattress from helixsleep.com, after you've had the mattress for 90 days, they're going to come over and they're going to bring a photographer. He's going to take a picture of you laying on that mattress and they're going to put it up on their website.
That's not.
So if you want to see people enjoying the Helix mattresses, everybody that gets one's picture is up there, and you can. Sometimes they're unclothed, but usually people do wear some form of wrapping when they go to sleep.
There is no photo section on their website. There will be no candid photography or arranged photography. This isn't about photography. This is about a good night's sleep. And of course, for a good night's sleep, you need a great mattress. We have them here. at Last Manor, several Helix Sleep mattresses. They're popular at Castle Cornette.
Yes, they are. I've got them all over the house and the backyard, as I mentioned before. So in case of fire, you can jump right out the window and land unharmed. That's only for people that live in a 2-story home or bigger. If you jump out the window and have to put a mattress down if you live on the ground floor, you're just a pussy. Folks, right now, just go to helixsleep.com/JCE. You take the quiz on what kind of mattresses you like. They pick you out the best one. You buy it. They send it to you. You put it on your bed. And you sleep like the sleep of the angels in the clouds. And you'll hear harp music. And then the Marx Brothers will come through and you'll have this crazy, wild dream about animal crackers. helixsleep.com/JCE, 27% off is what's going on. 27% off with that code JCE. Do you know how much 27% of a mattress is? That's like 6 cubic feet.
It's 27% of savings of the price, not the size of the mattress.
Oh, they're going to give you the whole mattress and charge you less. That's even better.
Amazing.
They're going to give you the entire mattress, folks, but they're going to charge you 27% less for it. I don't know how you can even do that deal and stay in business. Boy, howdy, helixsleep.com/JCE. That's where you need to go then. Hey, you don't even need to scrunch up and bend your knees because you'll have the whole mattress to stretch out on.
Once again, great mattresses. We love them here. We're sure you'll love them too. Let us know. But our good friends, Helix Sleep, Jim, one more time, that promo code.
helixsleep.com/JCE, 27% off. And boy, and these even pass the sniff test. When you sleep face down, I'll tell you more about the sniff test on the next spot.
Well, Jim, why don't we get back to whatever you were smelling on WWE Saturday night's main event, not a premium live event, in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Well, you shouldn't mention smelling because now it's going to be rude where we're going because the next up was the match for the women's title between Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton. And boy, they have changed their... I thought that they switched Jade heel, as we were talking about on the show we did a couple of days ago, because they were like, okay, we've given up on making her the babyface, superstar. The storm has fizzled out over the Great Plains and been dried up by the low pressure, whatever. But then they turn around, and now that she's a heel, they just had her beat the shit out of Tiffany Stratton and beat her in about 5 minutes.
I thought this was actually the best thing on the show, just in terms of impact and everything.
Well, there was some impact, especially on that big suplex. Now, I don't know if either one of these girls can wrestle, but they look great and they do moves well. And I think they went in, Tiffany had an out because of her injured leg, and that's what Jade was working on through the whole thing. And Tiffany still got a hope spot or two in there. But then Jade just gave her 3 power bombs and then hit her finish. Boom, 1, 2, 3. And as I said, it was like 5 minutes. Do you think they just wanted to make the impact and figured, well, fuck Tiffany, she's still over, everything's fine there? Or do you think they don't trust Jade to go 10 minutes?
Well, beyond that, and that may be right, but I don't think she should have gone 10 minutes. I think we're in a stage right now where there aren't matches under 10 minutes, it seems like, anywhere.
Well, yes, and now that you've mentioned that, people are going to complain at me that, well, you're always saying they go too long. But this was kind of like awfully one-sided, I guess. It's not like it was an exciting... Wasn't like the Sheik came out and there was just chaos for 5 minutes and then it was over. It was like she just kind of beat the shit out of her and beat her.
She has turned heel and she is now dominating. And It's different. It seemed like it worked. We'll see. I mean, I don't think it hurts Tiffany. So that's the good thing. I think it helps make Jade bigger. Now, again, what they could do in the ring with anyone versus the right opponent, who knows? You got to think they're setting her up for Bianca whenever Bianca returns. Because that will be, it may not be, again, may not be a 5-star classic, but that's a big deal, especially to the WWE fans. Bianca versus Jade? Because they brought Jade in as just a happy friend babyface. And now all of a sudden she's kicking ass.
Well, and that's the thing. Bianca had broken fingers coming out of WrestleMania. That was April. This is November. And I'm thinking that either she fucked up bones in her hand that have required extensive surgery, or she's lost some kind of feeling, or whatever the fuck is going on, or else why she had more going on than a broken finger. And could she have had anything related to a hand that would keep you out of action for 7 months? What could that be besides amputating the fucking thing?
I don't know.
Well, you're supposed to be a goddamn doctor.
Well, we'll see. I actually didn't realize it was still the finger thing from WrestleMania until you said that. I was like, oh shit.
Well, I just saw somebody on the Twitter a couple of weeks ago saying, gee, yeah, she had the broken fingers. And,
if she's out like 5 days over 9 months, I think it's going to be like, a phantom finger.
I don't know if she'd come back in 5 days if she was out for 9 months. I think there's some period after that time that, Man. Has anybody seen a recent photo of her? Does she look like she's smuggling basketballs? All right. Well, anyway, we'll see what happens with Jade. But like I said, I don't know that either of these young ladies can wrestle, but they do moves well. That's the thing is there's almost no wrestling, even in the matches of the guys that can wrestle these days. And then later on, Punk and Jay tried to wrestle. We'll get to that.
Well, though, in AEW, this is kind of what they did with her. And when she came to WWE, all of a sudden, not that she was overexposed, she was exposed. All of a sudden, she was working in ways that she never had to do before with other people out there who were national stars and celebrities and professionals. The way she was using AEW, the best thing about her were the interviews where she clearly had a lot of attitude and charisma. Now that she'll be produced, maybe those will even be better. Again, heel Jade, I think, is the way to go.
Yeah.
The heel attitude in those promos. And again, she wrestled all short matches to the point where we really didn't even know what she could do or not do still at the end of her AEW run. It was like, all right, let's see her work a match. Let's see what she could do. Like we really weren't sure what her capabilities were. So I think it is the way to use her effectively, probably. Use her in short matches and let her do heel promos.
Well, and then the thing that she was missing there was she did short matches and heel promos, but never a program or a rivalry or a championship, whatever the fuck. Well, she had that one of those bogus titles, but
TNT.
There was the TNT title. No, wait a minute. It'd be the TBS title.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
Either that or they had an intergender match somewhere.
Oh, because it was being that bitch show. That's right.
Yes. Except the logo looked like HOS. It looked like hose. But nevertheless, Jade is what we're talking about with short matches. At least now she's got money drawn opponents and someone to book her into these things, and they don't need to be 20 minutes long, and it's probably better off. But they're gonna, I guess, try to get her positioned that way to see if they can get some return on the investment here, which, as you mentioned, is probably the best way to do it, because it's going to be really tough for her to be a babyface when she can't really sell. She can register pain, but she's not like an underdog underneath babyface selling and fighting back from the bottom against all odds type of girl. Well, you know what was against the odds next, don't you, Brian?
A 3-way match.
And it was against the odds that I was going to like it. And there was no upset. A 3-way for the Intercontinental title Penta versus Rusev versus Dominic Mysterio. And I couldn't in any way even make notes on the match like, well, because they make no sense. It is a three-way. And again, it was even more egregious this time where one guy would just completely disappear for minutes at a time, not be referred to, not seen on camera while two other guys do moves to each other, and then they just switch.
Oh, big deal. Rusev has done that for years at a time.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say about him. Evaluating these three guys in this match, Rusev looks good physically. He's athletic. He does good power stuff. I think he spent too long playing with the children and then going and hiding in Bulgaria. And I think his window may have closed. Because I get they're putting him in this, but they're not. It's not like he's going to be added to the Heyman stable or anything. He's a middle card guy in this environment. He could have stood out in AEW because of his size and his power and the things he could do if he'd been treated seriously. But they killed that off at the start. And then he went home and pouted because they'd booked him like shit. So now it's 5 years later and he's what? Is he 40 or 41, 2, however fucking old he is? I'm kind of in the middle. He's there. Not bad to have on the card. He ain't going to draw any money. Disagree with me if you can.
39 years old. You know, he's a scary looking guy if you ran into him on the street, but he's not as physically imposing as he used to be.
Well, and also he's next to bigger guys.
You didn't really say it, but you even brought up the Heyman stable. That would be a mistake to put him with. It would water down the other two guys just because
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. They're not going to give him some big push where he's going to be launched to the top alongside the Braun Breakers and the like. That's not going to happen.
I do think maybe that's what he needs, though, like a buddy. He needs like someone that you see him interact with on TV as opposed to just...
He had a little buddy in AEW and he was wearing pink Minnie Mouse t-shirts with him. That's what killed him.
I mean, a gym buddy. He needs something. He needs something. Otherwise, he's just, the angry guy doing promos before he loses the big match.
He needs an accountability buddy. Accountability buddy. You South Park fans will know what I'm talking about. Okay, Penta. He's better than in AEW because he's produced and he has more professional opponents. And he'll probably do well for him in Mexico with the AAA project or whatever. He has a name there. I mean, he's like a Dragon Lee for this environment, for the American audience. He's not, nor is he ever going to be a tip-top guy. But he's on the card to appeal to the Hispanic audience. So, again, he's there. and I don't know, maybe putting him and Phoenix together as the Lucha Brothers, maybe that would, be something as a tag team for AAA again. But it's not like they're going to be having 45-minute long matches with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. So, that's two guys, and then Dominic, who gets better all the time, his work, his selling, his personality. And now the people are wanting to like him. And you can tell he's gotten over with all of this various foolishness that he's done over the past couple of years, started with Rhea Ripley and through the whole thing, and now on his own, and he cheats to win the matches because he's a heel, but he cheats in such cute ways. And he's got the oomph. So Dominic Mysterio, not next month, maybe not even next year, but at some point, he will be a main event fucking guy in his company. But however, having said that, Jesus Christ, it was just a bunch of guys doing moves to each other. And then they did one thing. Dominic pitches the chair to Rusev and then tries to get the referee to disqualify Rusev, say, he hit me. But the referee said it's no DQ, it's a three-way. So Rusev just beats the shit out of Dominic with the chair in front of the referee. It's a hat on a hat. Brian, the original triple threat match was not a no DQ match because it didn't need to be. It already had a fucking gimmick. So they can't even. It was a cute spot, but it wasn't necessary. And it just, again, makes these things look like what the fuck? It's an AEW type of thing. Let's just bury all the referees and do everything because it's all allowed because it's no DQ. But having said that, then Rusev got a camel clutch on Penta and Dominic went out and rang the bell. So Russo. Yes, Russo moved to Bulgaria. Now, Rusev let it go. And then when Dominic, he saw it was Dominic, he went to get him, Dominic drew back the hammer and tried to use it on him, but Rusev took it away from him and beat the shit out of Dominic. But then Dominic shoved Rusev into the ring steps, but now Penta had got the hammer, but when he swung at Dominic, Dominic ducked and Penta hit Rusev. And then Dominic shit-canned him and shit-canned Penta and splashed Rusev off the top 1, 2, 3. So they're still doing the bell hammer thing with Dominic, and I like the concept that he's got this hammer in different ways, but it gets so cluttered with the three-way bullshit, and you just can't make these matches look credible and realistic. Because I know all those people in the building are watching the guy laying on the side of the ring somewhere out of camera sight for 3 minutes going, well, he could get up any fucking time.
What's he waiting for? Yeah.
And being in a match where as it's unfolding, you see that something is going on that people are it's a buzzkill moment. It's going to take people out of it. They're going to be watching that instead of what they need to be watching. I hate that feeling. I've had it many times. And it's, and I just don't understand why that they think that it doesn't matter what the 10,000 people or whatever in a building see. It's just the TV audience. Well, it's 10,000 people. Every time you do this bogus bullshit in front of them, it's 10,000 more people. And that adds up. What'd you think of this thing?
As far as three-way matches go, it was all right. It's definitely noticeable the fans are getting more and more into Dominic. I hate that neck tattoo, but I may be alone. And, I reiterate what you said earlier. I think Penta's just fine where he is in the card and the people like him. I do think there could be a run for the Lucha Brothers. It may not be against Braun and Bronson unless they're in the tag team division. But I could see that being a bit of a thing at some point when they're on the same show. And as far as Rusev goes, yeah. I mean, I was surprised they brought him back. And he's kind of been a non-entity, for lack of a better term. And, I'm not trying to insult the guy. It's really about the way he's booked. But I think now he's kind of stuck there. I don't know.
I would say he lost 5 good years of his life in limbo, but he got paid for 5 years to do almost nothing. But what he did do didn't help his image in wrestling.
Tony paid him a lot of money to finish all of his favorite video games. I need a boss like that.
All right. Well, you know what they're going to do, Brian, to determine John Cena's final opponent for December 13th at the next Saturday night's main event on the cock. Can't believe they ended up sticking. It used to be a big deal when it was network TV special, and it might even have been okay when all their shit was on Peacock. But now that this is almost the only thing that's on Peacock. But the tournament to determine his final opponent starts November 10th and they're going to do it on television. Oh, joy. You think it's a rib on Tony Khan? Well, now we'll just do a tournament and show him how to do that.
You know, we joke about and make fun of and criticize Tony's use of tournaments, and even billing Okada as like the greatest tournament wrestler ever, just a non-stat if there ever was one. But Triple H kind of has the same deal going. You know, a lot of the things that I hate that Tony does, Triple H seems to like the same things. And in general, I'm sick of tournaments. But for this specific one, I would like to know if John Cena is personally disappointed at all in the way this year has gone down. Or does he not care at all about the booking? It's just about his personal experience in all these different towns, working with his favorite guys one last time. But to me, this is a deflating and disappointing ending if it's just going to be a tournament won by a Gunther or whoever to get John Cena. I mean, unless it's stacked with like surprises, it's just another tournament with the same people who are on Raw and SmackDown every week, and you kind of can rule out several people as his last opponent. So I don't like it at all for this.
Well, and hopefully Gunther will win, and then Gunther will win. Because at this point, might as well, again, Gunther was supposed to get a match with Brock a couple of years ago when they had really give Gunther the big shove. And I would think that would be kind of a passing of the torch moment between two big physical guys. So maybe they we'll get that this time, where Gunther beats Cena. He's back in the top mix. Brock's around. I'd like to see that match. I'd like to see Gunther beat Brock Lesnar. And I think it would draw money.
And again,
but nevertheless.
Well, we're presuming Gunther. They haven't announced a bracket or a tournament or anything else yet, like who's going to actually be in it. But what do you think about using the tournament for this to find the final opponent for John Cena?
Well, then they've just lazied their way into 3 or 4 weeks of television. Oh, here, that'll fill up 45 minutes each show, just these tournament matches. And it's so important. Again, I said this a few days ago, the last show we did, but you should have at the start of the year identified 2 or 3 big main event matches, names, programs you wanted to have through the year, and then give Cena wins over in one-offs over a number of other people. And he makes all of his last appearances in all these towns, wins most of the matches, and does a couple of jobs for a couple of people to make them more important. And I don't know how they fucked that up. And you could have had your major heel that you wanted to beat Cena in the end or toward the end. I still probably would have him win his last match. I wouldn't make it. If they could, a Survivor Series is bigger than Saturday night's main event. What about if they'd have had one heel like Gunther or somebody of that level that had wanted to ruin Cena's party all year and had been in and out trying to fuck with him? And finally, that's the climactic big show match, Survivor Series, and he beats Cena. But then Cena comes back on the important, but still not as important as Survivor Series, Saturday night's main event, and beats another guy in his last match, so you get the happy ending. Fuck the heel turn. Don't have him fuck with Cody. Don't have Cody fuck with him. It wasn't all necessary. They didn't run off any business, but they sure didn't bring any business in with all of what they did.
Well, that was the big tournament announcement for the John Cena final match. And there's one final match here on Saturday night's main event, and I'm going to guess it was your favorite match of the night.
Oh, boy. Snake bit. That phrase came up to me a time. They got 4 matches on a show, and 2 of them are for the world title. So this is the second world title match of the evening, CM Punk and Jey Uso. And then This is one of the things I was talking about with Jey Uso before when he was the world champion. He needed to win it. He got so hot. He was so popular. It would have made him look like shit if he hadn't won that thing, but he couldn't have it for long because you can't put Jey Uso in 20 and 25 and 30-minute long singles matches on big shows. He can't hang work-wise with the top guys in the company. And I'm not just talking about Punk here. I'm sorry, Jey has wonderful charisma, but his timing and his basics and it doesn't appear to me that he's an easy person to work with. And wrestling, especially the headlock takeovers, they started out trying to wrestle a world title match, and that ain't Jay's thing at all. And at one point, Punk tried the reverse neck breaker, and Jay turned around and then turned all the way over again and just fell on top of Punk. And Punk jumped up and kicked him in the head and picked him up and did it again. What the And bear in mind that Punk had a couple of bobbles here as well, including right at the finish. And it doesn't appear to me that Jey Uso is a guy that's easy to work with if you are trying to have a long main event singles match. Let me just say that. And it was babyface versus babyface. I'm sure if you had asked Punk, name 10 guys you want to go 20 minutes on a big show with in a babyface versus babyface match, Jay wouldn't have been on top of that list either. But it was put together smartly. If it had all come off as planned. But Punk stayed in control most of the time, but not as a heel because he's a babyface. It just allowed Jay to fight back from underneath and also for Punk to kind of call it. But they had a bunch of false finishes. Post Malone at ringside looks like a prison gang member. That's country music these days?
Well, he kind of crosses many genres of music.
Looks like he's got crossways with a tattoo artist who fucked him up. Anyway, they were going to the finish. Punk went for a pile driver, and Jay hit to go to sleep on him. And then Jay charged him, and Punk hit a spear and got a 2 count. And the people were into these false finishes they'd been doing. And then Punk hit the GTS to go to sleep, and Uso, landing on his feet, fell back into the ropes, and as Punk went to his knees, Uso collapsed over like back on Punk's shoulders. And the working plan was for Punk to stand up under him again and give him another go to sleep, 1, 2, 3. However, the physics that bit Ibushi and Alexander in the ass the other day on AEW took over, and Uso's weight was too far back. Punk tried to stand up underneath him. They overbalanced. They fell in a fucking heap. But you could tell, and I'm sure Punk immediately said, "Get on me," like Jay had countered it. And Jay gets on him and gets a fucking sleeper, and that gets a big pop. And then Punk rolls it into the Anaconda Vice, and Jay gets the ropes. And then Jay hits a couple super kicks and went for a spear, and Punk hit the go to sleep. And then Jay bounced off the ropes into another go to sleep, 1, 2, 3. So they ad-libbed back into what they were going to do, but it wasn't either guy's shining moment, but God almighty, I would not, again, want to have to go 20 in a single match main event with Jey Uso.
It's one of those things, they have to get there, and it's watching them try to get there. I think this is the right ending, obviously. especially with
Yes.
Rollins being gone. Punk being the champion right now sets you up for a lot of different possibilities. You know, this has been the year of the Cena retirement. In a lot of ways, it's also been the year of Jey Uso and that ring entrance. And I know a lot of people love it, but, you know, you almost miss parts of the match because you start fast forwarding. Or you leave the room because if you're watching it live, you don't need to see it. I started watching the World Series more than I was watching that because it took him a long time to get there. And then he does it a second time.
Yes. No, the entrances on that were almost 10 minutes for the two of them.
And I think we're seeing for the first time, really all year, blowback about Jey Uso's push from fans. I'm seeing a lot of feedback about that. We're getting it, you know, emailed to us and stuff. So I think the year of Jey Uso is coming to an end. And like you said, the matches are never... you can't... Name me a classic Jey Uso match. In all the years we've been watching WWE, like, name me a great Jey Uso match. You can't. You can name me great moments. You can name me great moments that happen after a match.
And the Bloodline saga, which was all about promos and whose side is who on.
Yeah, but even when there was a match, the match was long, plotting, didn't matter. It was about the last 2 minutes of the match, and then all the drama that always happened right after the match. Jey Uso not knowing if he could turn on Sammy, just everything like that.
And now, not to take the piss out of all of that. That was all well done. And
Jey
great. Has charisma, and Jimmy has charisma. But the Usos as a team, it was the same thing. They aren't that good at the pro wrestling portion of the presentation.
You know, it's crazy too, thinking back to that period of time. There is nothing as hot or anywhere near as hot as things got with the Bloodline, where you couldn't wait to see the drama that was going to happen. And a lot of the problems we're having now with the TV and everything, they got away with that because it was so hot. But a lot of that was a slow moving thing. And we always said it, like Paul Heyman's booking, it'll just end with nothing. It'll be no ending. It'll just dissolve into nothingness. But I don't know what you do with him next.
Well, and that's the thing. That's why Punk had to win this, because, again, the world title on Punk, he can be in the orbit of the Heyman group, and there's the connection there. Whereas if they put Jey involved with the Heyman group, then it looks like, you know, Roman's replacement showed up. It's not Snuka, it's CV Alpha or whatever.
Superfly Afi.
Whatever the case. But they need the name value going into the WrestleMania season.
You know, we've been talking about how these shows feel, the state of WWE TV lately. Saturday night's main event did nothing to fix any of that. And it was 4 matches, and it took forever.
And you mentioned they were up against the World Series. My bigger problem is they were up against Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
Yeah, I had that on the living
on
room
Svengoolie. But hey, let's be honest. I was asleep by 9 o'clock Saturday night anyway, like always. And fuck the fucking change of the time. I'm waking up same time every day anyway. But I mean, this was, I think, more contractual obligation than a show that was necessary to be held.
And you felt good for Punk. It seemed like it really was a moment. You know, we all joke about these titles or, you know, just what they are, but it really seemed like it meant something to him. It's a full return.
Probably should have happened on Survivor Series, one of the big events of the year, instead of this thing that's hidden on a streaming service somewhere.
Against the World Series, yeah. Because that match was the match specifically because it began at 7, not 8. This match is the one that really went up against things getting good in the World Series. Jim, I'm going to ask you about a photo that made the rounds in a moment, but first, I'd like to talk to you about music. You know, people think of CM Punk. I mean, there's a reason that's his name. It's punk rock. That was the music he got into. He talks about straight edge. I've heard him quote other Minor Threat songs. Music is very important. He has theme music, and of course, Jey Uso has endless theme music, which is awful. But music is great.
Music.
I guess what I'm
very, very good.
Jim, I guess what I'm trying to say is We all need to be able to hear things, and we have a friend that'll stop me right now and let you tell them about how they can hear great music and great podcasts with great earbuds.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, I don't know what the hell that was, but if you'd like to listen to something else right now, then go to buyraycon.com and get some of those everyday earbuds. That's what you're trying to say, Brian. Because it doesn't have to be music.
No.
It could be voice. It could be podcast. You can listen to our podcast on the earbuds.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, you can listen to our podcast. I'm saying hello to the audience. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were saying hello to me.
Hello, listeners.
I thought you couldn't hear me. What, are you on the fucking nitrous again? What the hell's going on over there?
I was doing my Lloyd Lindsay Young. Hello! Back to you.
Back to me. Well, the Raycon everyday earbuds, they don't have to be music. They could be voice. They could be podcast. You can record people doing the naughty. Just crawl over to your neighbor's house on your hands and knees about 2 o'clock in the morning, stick a microphone up next to their window and see if you can record them in intimate embrace, and then you can listen to that on the everyday earbuds.
You know, again,
It's up to you.
It's not up to you. It's up to law enforcement to stop you. That's not something you should do. Don't go to your neighbor's house, mind your own business, and listen to some good sounds.
Do you know back in the old days before everybody did things on the computer, when it was an old typewriter, if you got your E keys, if you got them dirty, it would look like O's. And that's why for a long time there was a rash of reports on the news of police arresting pooping Toms. But anyhow, you're going to shit over these big deals.
Yeah, you are.
Yes, you are, because the Everyday Earbuds Classic that are loaded with upgrades, active noise cancellation, multi-point connectivity, an ergonomic fit that just slips right in and lodges in your ear canal.
No.
Archaeologists in years will be doing reports based on the age of the earbuds found in the skulls of prehistoric man.
Jim, you hear Antonio Inoki? Just want to make sure we let the people know nothing will be lodged or stuck anywhere. Everything comes out easily, just like the music.
Oh, it'll come out. Yes, they take the skull and they dip it in a solution, and then they take tweezers and you pull all kinds of things out of these skulls.
No.
And they're available in favorite colors like blush violet or cool mint, or a cool water sandwich on a Sunday go to meat and bun. And they got the quick charge function. 10 minutes of charging gives you 90 minutes of playtime, up to 32 hours of battery life. I'm telling you. And the awareness mode. Now, let's say you're walking a dog and you're walking down the street and suddenly there's an atomic explosion, fire engines start up, and sirens and emergency horns and police cars and tanks. They're all coming down the street, but you're paying attention to your dog taking a shit. Well, if you pop the awareness mode in, then you'll hear all these things before they run you down.
Well, let's hope no one's getting run down. And of course, the only thing that's getting run down.
I'm feeling a little peaked myself right now.
Jim, the only thing that we could say is down will be the price, because we have a great deal for the listeners on a brand new pair of Raycon earbuds.
Boy, how the price is going down like a circus seal. I'm telling you what, because they Raycon, whether it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Titty Tuesday, or Wing Wednesday, everything is up to 30% off when you go to buyraycon. That's BUYRAYCON.com/ you know what that slash is, baby. JCE. That's what that slash is. And that's the code that gets you 30% off all of the various plethora of products that are proffered to your person by our friends at Raycon, our professional producers of productivity.
Great earbuds.
30%. That ain't bad.
We love them here. Everyone in the family has a pair, and we all love our Raycon. I love my Raycons. I know Stacy Cornette is a big fan, and we're sure the listeners will love them too.
Yes, I used to be able to put things in my ears and hear before I got hit by lightning, but now I've got to keep those canals open because occasionally an electric jolt does come out of my ear canal, and I've got to stay grounded.
We're speaking to the audience that has not been hit by lightning, but Jim, for that audience,
it's more common than you think.
How common?
It's common, more common than you would think.
Better chance of getting hit by lightning than winning the lotto?
Yes, you do, actually. Statistics have shown that. But you know what you got the best chance of statistically?
What's that?
Saving 30% on a pair of Everyday Earbuds Classic from Raycon at buyraycon.com/JCE, 30% off. It's like only having to pay 7/10 of the price of something, but you can hear all of it. Unless, of course, you have some problem with your hearing, which is not up to us to fucking deal with. Just turn these goddamn things all the way up. You'll be fine.
buyraycon.com/JCE. All right, well, there it is. Not just Raycon, but Saturday night's main event, and we'll shortly talk about WWE Raw, everything coming out of Saturday night's main event that we watched. But Jim, a photo that made the rounds from that night, I believe CM Punk.
Boy.
I believe CM Punk was the one who put it out there, but it was CM Punk.
That makes it even better. He's the ringleader.
It was CM Punk.
He's the fucking Eddie Haskell of this son of a bitch.
With some of the other title holders in WWE, Jade Cargill, who won the women's championship that night, Cody Rhodes, the world champion, or WWE champion. One of those two is one of those belts. And of course, Ricky Starks from NXT, who is one of the champions there. Is he the NXT champion? I'm not even sure.
He had a big old belt on him.
But that photo went around. It was another post that some people attached that photo to another one from a couple days ago of Mariah May or Blake Monroe with Ethan Page backstage, and they're both holding belts. What do you think of the photo, the idea behind it, and putting it out there? And just everyone's been buzzing about the idea here, all these guys and girls that were in AEW, that were title holders there, that were stars there, and that all left for one reason or another. It wasn't necessarily the right thing for AEW.
Well, first of all, the belt thing is secondary. And because I get on AEW, everybody's got a belt. Several of them have more than one. There's 25 or 30 of them. That's epidemic. But in the WWE system, there are quite a few belts also. So to be honest, that just the belt itself is not the honor it used to be, and not the ha-ha, ooh-hoo moment when Ethan Page has some kind of belt or whatever. But what a couple of the belts are, and more importantly, the personalities in the picture. That's what not an aha moment, but a rub it in your face moment, or a fucking, well, back at you, motherfucker moment, whatever. That's it, because you have both of the male world champions out of really two world champions in the biggest company on earth. You have one of the women's champions that was an AEW project at the start. You have Ricky Starks, who was pretty much, I mean, Tony will pay these guys to fucking sit around and do whatever show, like Okada, show up and be lazy, or like a lot of them, just when he don't want to deal with their issues, he just sends them a check. But Starks actually just was like, just get me out of here. I'll just go. And, so that's a thing. But they were all on his roster. And if you want to narrow it down to two, both at different times and both for different reasons, he had both of the current men's world champion, now sound like Page, in the biggest company on earth on his roster. And we don't know the reason why Cody left, because they've kept that private, and I respect that of them, that they've been able to do it for the most part. But just the idea that he would let him, out of all of the executive vice presidents, this guy is the one he would let go over any other before any, whatever the case. And secondly, the other one is the guy that he let go because of his jackass vice presidents. Right there, that's the. Am I crazy?
No, you're not the crazy one. Tony was. If you really look at the roster and the roster makeup, and again, the people that are not there, and I'm not talking about Malachi Black and Rusev and Andrade. I'm talking about Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, the people in the photo, Ricky Starks, Jade Cargill, Mariah May. Ethan Page was a notch below them, I would say, in AEW. He's done a lot better since leaving there. But those were all, other than, I can't say about Ricky Starks, and it's not his fault, it's their fault. They were all priorities. Jade Cargill was a priority. They gave her a belt and a push and let her say shit all over TV. Cut the shit, Tony. That's what we first knew her for. CM Punk was the biggest star in the history of the company during the most successful period of time in the history of the company. And they blew that because of the nature of AEW. Cody Rhodes.
The children.
You know, Cody Rhodes is the children too, but the issue with Cody isn't the children that were not necessarily appreciative of Cody. It's the one child. It's the main child. And that's Tony. And Ricky Starks just never had a chance. I mean, I know you could say they pushed him with Big Bill as the tag team champion. Ricky Starks as a heel or a babyface got a better reaction than most people. And when you think back to that segment with him and Adam Copeland, where he called him bug-eyed and Adam Copeland flipped and just cut him down on TV, and Ricky Starks didn't even get a chance to really do anything back, look at the choice there. Like, who would be more valuable to AEW today? Adam Copeland, who's there. Well, he's supposed to be there. He's injured, or he's not injured. He left because his wife got hurt by FTR in kayfabe. Or Ricky Starks, who was someone the fans chose. You gave up on someone the fans chose. And
how about this? How about if, and I'm not saying actually do this because he wouldn't have fit and it would be putting Starks in another shitty position. But if they had put Starks in something like Moxley's group instead of Yuta, or if that giant push for Garcia, remember where we couldn't get away from him for like a year? And there's been no change, no growth, no evolution, no blah. Imagine if Starks had that behind him in that company. Maybe that might have moved something besides their bowels.
Yeah. And, Jade's development has been better under WWE, obviously, than it was in AEW, where there really wasn't. I mean, day one, she was kind of who she was the last day. There wasn't any development. But again, it goes back to the bigger picture. You look at the AEW roster now, you look at the lack of star power there, you look at, just how not exciting the content is right now. And then you look at all these guys here. And for everyone who said CM Punk is such a cancer, causes problems, causes fights, the fucking guy looks like he's having the time of his life and is happier than I've ever seen him ever right now. And AEW's lack of structure is a big part of the problem for everyone's issues over there, but I guess it's just a symbolic photo. I mean, no one said fuck you, Tony, in it, but it's kind of a fuck you to Tony.
It's ironic. Isn't it ironic? It's like rain on your wedding day, or all those other things that said that weren't actually really ironic.
Alanis Morissette.
There you go. Isn't that ironic?
That you don't remember her name?
Yes.
Don't you think? Well, that's the photo controversy, Jim. And now let's get to WWE Monday Night Raw. A show this week from New Mexico. I have to say, I really love the way the building looked.
Yeah, because it had the big, long oval shape and low and wide so that you could see all of the people. I don't know how big the place is, but they said it was sold out and jammed. And from the shot, they had a small entrance and a narrow aisleway and etc. So I would imagine it was close to. But what else they got to do in Albuquerque besides make left turns? Or Rio Rancho, I should say. That's suburban Albuquerque, is it not? Brian, you used to live in New Mexico amongst the cave dwellers.
I have flown over New Mexico, I think maybe, but I've never been to New Mexico.
I thought I've seen pictures of you in the cave dwellings out there in the cliffs of Dover. That's next to where the alien land down there, Roswell.
You figured me out.
There you go. The last time I was in Albuquerque, they didn't have suburbs. It was like 1986. But anyway, this is the Raw after the Saturday night's main event, and they open up the program, and then, like a Mussolini, he won the belty. And here comes Punk, and this was a hot crowd. They liked everything considerably more than some of the people have lately. But he got the big response. And again, as you said a few minutes ago, he looks like he's having the time of his life. He's shaking hands. He's hugging people. Everybody's happy. They've finally achieved what Vince always wanted. We want to put smiles on people's faces. Well, put the belt on Punk. And they chanted, "You deserve it," and etc. And so I like that he thanked Larry first, because after all, behind every great man is his dog. And then came AJ Lee and the fans and Jey Uso. But that's the thing, is that he knows how to talk to people, and he can be a baby face without coming out there and being nicey, kissy. He's just honest about his emotions or gratitude or whatever, instead of being, but at the same time, he keeps his little edge. Whereas Cody sometimes veers into the sweetness every now and then.
The theater. Cody ventures into the theater. What did you think? Did you hear it sounded almost like Jey Uso was booed a little bit when he said his name?
Yes, there was a little when he said Jey Uso, there was a little rumble, which we talked about that, is some people still take it personally and they get mad at the guys. I mean, it all these things will pass. But there was a noticeable, But basically, he cut another good babyface promo as a new champion. And he knows that he's a target and he could lose any time, so he's got to watch out. And he plugged the bronze and wants to punch all of them in the face and fight the best. He mentioned AJ and Dominic and JD and Finn and Sheamus and John Cena. Anybody who's earned it, the champ is here. You want some, come get some. And the music plays, and it's Logan Paul. And I was wondering where he'd been. I'd almost forgot about him. And Punk was great here, because instead of standing slack-jawed and fucking gape-mouthed, dumbfounded like everybody else does, he reacted the whole way, and he didn't wait for the music to stop playing before he started speaking again. He's like, "No, anybody but you." And that goes back to something, Brian, you and I were talking about on one of the shows we did recently, where I said the announcer being in between back in the, first 60 or 70 years of television wrestling gave some kind of visual to the people separation between the two, so that they could be in the same camera shot, so that you could see a guy reacting to facially and with body language when another guy's speaking. And there was instead of them having to just stand across the ring and look at each other, and that's what they do now. But Punk was reacting to what Logan Paul was doing. He's like, go to SmackDown, take Ilya's challenge, not you, you're the shits, right? And of course, Logan Paul does his heel shit, and then suddenly you hear Heyman's voice, and out he comes with the bronze. And of course, Paul Lee says, Punk earlier referred to himself feeling like a king without a crown. And Paul said, "I don't see a king without a crown. It's a bitch without an owner." I'm like, Jesus Christ. And Paul says that Braun is the front of the line and orders Logan Paul to get out of the ring. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not sure about this, but Logan Paul refuses because he was there first. And then Braun starts. And this guy he's not just the screaming, drooling, offspring of a dog-faced gremlin and a fucking whatever. He's got inflection. He's got levels to his promo. Loving him more and more every day. Braun says Paul bought everybody a couple of weeks to live until the new champion was crowned. And, we found out what was going to go on there. And now I'm not waiting. So he cuts promo on all of them. And by the way, this is going long. And did you see the report that this segment went about 10 minutes longer than it was supposed to? Because
oh no, I did not see
this week's
that.
Raw on Netflix, this week's Raw is like 2 hours and 48 minutes or whatever. So anyway, he's not waiting. But the thing is, they're stars. These are the big, I'd rather see them talk and do it well than see, Los Garza dipshit versus Tits McGee for 20 minutes. So Punk tells Logan Paul either we're about ready to fight, so either fight or get out of my ring. And so Logan Paul gets out, which was great. But the Brawns wouldn't let him by, and Braun Breaker shoved Logan Paul, who, did you see him hit the back of his head on the fucking ring on their LED board?
That was bad.
I heard a clunk too. I did that one night on Raw on the fucking stairs, and kind of liquid came out my nose all night. But anyway, so Reed and Breaker swarm Punk, and boom, 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 they're beating him up. And then Logan Paul comes in and finally to do something, but they beat him up. And then Bronson Reed splashes Logan Paul. And then Punk comes in with a chair and clears the ring and gets the CM Punk chance. And the heels took off, and Logan Paul's there selling. And we're 26 minutes into the show. But as I said, I'd rather see all the guys that can talk do it and get an angle going than the miscellaneous matches. This didn't feel as long as these goddamn opening show soliloquies normally are, because they kept bringing more people out and they could all talk. I don't know. Did you nod off?
No, I really liked it, and I didn't get tired of it. I didn't realize it went that long. It went by pretty quickly, and I think it's in part because Logan Paul was a surprise. I mean, I didn't think, what if Logan Paul and Punk start their feud tonight? So him coming out there was a surprise, and the way it played out, just in this segment alone, not even talking about the main event, it all was what's going to happen, what's about to happen. I feared we would get Adam Pearce storming out there, stop everything! We'll have a match! Like, I was dreading that happening, and it didn't. And it didn't happen. So it felt different. It ended differently than a lot of these things do. We could discuss Logan Paul taking the splash and returning later on, but whatever.
Yeah.
But I thought this was great, and it was intriguing because you didn't know what would happen exactly with Punk and Logan Paul, and then all of a sudden, as soon as Heyman and the Brawns come out, now you really don't know what's going to happen because they're insulting Logan Paul too. He's standing there. Me personally, I didn't have any thoughts of what if Logan Paul joins the Heyman stable. So I thought this was a great segment.
Well, and in theory, Logan Paul can occupy the Seth Rollins position to where, there's a single egomaniac, and then there's these two tag team guys with one kind of egomaniac, and Bronson Reed's the Arn Anderson, and that's fine. And they can kind of do maybe sort of whatever it was they were going to do to begin with. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Except Logan Paul doesn't have as bad a fashion sense as Seth Rollins.
Logan Paul is so good. When he came out there and got on the mic, it's not that he's even saying anything that other heels haven't said or couldn't say, but you believe him. You absolutely believe he's this conceited prick.
Yes.
You believe it, and he's so good in that role.
And because there is, I'm sure, a great element of art imitating life. He carries it off so well, it's very natural to him.
But we just talked the other day, it may have even been a Saturday Night's Main Event review. I'm not even sure when. We've recorded a lot recently. About who's the champion going to feud with next, whether it was Cody or Punk. Like, what's out there? Obviously, Braun and Bronson are out there, but there's a lot of things, I don't know. I mean, Randy Orton and Cody is something they haven't really done yet, pulled the string on yet, but you could tell that it's been set up a little bit. But what about Punk? We didn't think about Punk and Logan Paul.
What? We didn't think about Logan Paul.
We didn't think about Logan Paul. Kind of like Punk's promo here. He didn't even mention it. Reality and wrestling, but we didn't even talk about him. That is something different. That is something new. That is something I'd want to see, especially the promos back and forth.
Well, and besides that, now I can see also, well, we'll go ahead and talk about the end of the show if you want to at the same time here, and then come back and fucking pick up a couple of other things. But the point is with Logan Paul and Paul Heyman aligned with each other. They could do the deal where Logan Paul's a fucking businessman. He's the fucking prime guy. He's the mover and shaker. But he needs the fucking... Heyman is a goddamn agent. Heyman's a powerful fucking guy. They join together, and Heyman's like, yes, a client like this, they can put each other over. But Heyman and that group can add something to Logan Paul, who's not there all the time. And now he's got somebody to talk for him and keep him alive when he may not be there. You see where I'm going? So I like that. And then Braun can still be jealous of Logan Paul at some point, or vice versa. And what happens when Rollins gets back? He's going to be a babyface because he's coming back from an injury. So you guys, there you go. So they're, I think, doing a good job of piecing back together whatever they were trying to accomplish in the first place. Having said that, the main event, Brian, that we did end up getting, at least they didn't just, oh, you guys fight right on the spot. But the main event was Punk and Jey Uso against Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. And Punk had to, they got together during the show, he and Jay, and so Jay, okay, I'm my own man with this type of thing. And then Paul was telling Jay in veiled terms, earlier in the program, that is going to be a bad experience for him with anybody that's not with the vision. They're just going to get the shit kicked out of them every time they show up. So good luck. So the tag team match was set for the main event, and we have the questions of who's going to do what to who and who can trust who, and the guys teaming up that just had the world title match. And again, they had a good match, but it wasn't about the fucking match. They got him. Jay is trying. He seems to be getting away from the open-handed punches like the other Samoans do. But they got heat on Punk, and Bronson Reed, I think, is really good, and Braun Breaker is, the next megastar. And did you see Dax Harwood got pissed on Twitter? Did you say, wait, you can tell he's pissed, even though he didn't act pissed. He just tweeted a picture. The Bronze did a shatter machine to Punk and got a 2 count, and Uso made the save. And then Dax tweeted out a picture of them doing the shatter machine and just said, not even close. Did you see this?
I did not see this, no.
I mean, I could get mad at every team that does the flapjack, but it's kind of at this point, everybody's going to do every fucking move. Anyway, finally, the tags to Uso and Reed, and Uso made a comeback, and they got a false finish or two, and then Punk and Braun went to the floor, and Jay dove on Bronson Reed on the floor, and they had a four-way on the floor, and they actually got counted out. The first double count out I can remember seeing in forever, because they couldn't beat the baby faces, and they don't need to beat the heels. And then finally they kept the fight going, and the only thing I have, they rang the bell, double count out, and then the referee disappears. And you never hear another bell ring, like ding, 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 whatever. You never see any other referees come out. They just continue the fight. And they've lost the pretext of this is out of control. Am I being a nitpicker here?
I wouldn't say a nitpicker. I mean, that's just maybe the right way to do it. You're pointing out a logic hole. I just want to say, I thought, and I never thought I would say this, I thought the double count out was kind of refreshing. We kind of got to a period where there's always a finish.
Yes.
And there's, and again, I don't want every match to be double DQ and double count out, but I saw plenty of shows as a kid where maybe the majority of the matches had a, whatever you want to call it, a non-finish. It was the end of the match, but you didn't get a winner. We get too many winners, and I guess too many losers is the bigger issue.
The point is, at least now we know there's some rules. If there was more of it, because in those days, they did double countouts or double DQs or whatever to continue a program to avoid having one entity, either single or team, triumph over the other before the program was finished. And if it was exciting enough, people got into it, but also because most of the matches were conducted as if there were fucking rules. Now, then suddenly the marks amongst the wrestling fans, the subset of wrestling fans that are truly marks, decided that, oh no, you got to have a finish or you're cheating the people. Well, you cheated the people out of 6 more weeks of the program. but then it became, we're going to do all the outlandish shit, but we'll just never have a disqualification or a count out. We'll just act like there's no rules and it will still have a finish. And that's now the norm. So it was refreshing that, yeah, get back in the ring or we're going to count your ass out. Anyhow, they're having the big fight. And they splashed Uso, so he's wiped out. But Punk comes in with a chair again. And the heels get the chairs and start to come back in. They got a standoff. And here comes Logan Paul. And he stands up next to Punk and he puts on the brass knucks. And he swings and knocks Punk slap dab out. Colder than a banker's heart. And it got heat. They were booing. And then Punk's laid there, Jay's laid there. The people are booing, and they start chanting, "Fuck you, Logan," which they were trying to bleep. And Logan Paul turns to Heyman, and Heyman's like, "If he hits me, kill him," to the Bronze. And Logan Paul handed the knucks to Heyman, and Logan smiles, and Paulie smiles. And it was a good detail that Paul didn't know, because obviously if they had plotted it from the start, then Logan Paul took a fucking splash for no reason.
Right.
And as you said, he still came back apparently suffering no ill effects from a fucking splash. But if it had all been a plot from the start, that's going over and above the Call of Duty, right?
Right. I guess we're supposed to believe that something happened between that first segment and this last match that made Logan Paul say, maybe I want to join those guys.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, is that Logan Paul probably said, I'm an entrepreneur and I want this successful merger of business empires, some shit like that. But nevertheless, did you see Here's another thing. This AI bullshit now. Somebody within 12 hours had taken the clip of Logan Paul handing the Nux to Paul Heyman and them a close up of them smiling at each other. And they have generated the video of them leaning in and giving a big old anteater tongue kiss to each other. And that kind of disturbing image should not be put on a platform where children under the age of 21 or maybe even 25 should be able to see it. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I didn't, and I'm glad.
Well, you got to see it. I only saw it 17 or 18 times, but you got to see it once or twice.
All right, well, that was the main event of Raw, and what an ending to the review of the main event of Raw that was.
We got to go back because we never neglected over part of it in the middle because we wanted to keep some continuity there. But the Battle of the Mysterios, did you remember this, don't you?
I thought this was really good, and there were a few lines, and I thought Dominic's facial expressions, it was really good, I thought.
Well, that's Dominic was doing the in-ring promo, and again, boy, this kid, now he's got the people and he knows it, and they don't boo over him now every time he opens his mouth because they want to hear. And he said, bow down to the king of the luchadors, and he got boos and cheers. And he cuts the promo. I'm the best lucha libre, blah, 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 and no man on the planet can stop me. Rey Mysterio's music hits. And he gets a big pop. And because he's been hurt since, who was the clumsy dipshit that jerked him out of the ring day before WrestleMania and tore his groin?
Oh, I don't remember. Yeah, I forgot all about that.
Well, he got about 7 months off for that. But anyway, the people were holy shit, and it's New Mexico. There's a Hispanic contingent in the audience. This is tailor-made for this market. And Ray cuts the promo. Say, you're not the king of lucha libre, but the fans started singing Dirty, Dirty Dom, or what, how, like Cody Rhodes. What is that tune?
Daddy Cool by Boney M.
No, I mean, what's the, I can't sing the tune. Is it Dirty Dominic? Oh, yeah. Dirty, no, it's Michael Jackson.
I don't know what that is, but Dominic leaned into it. I thought it was great.
And the point is, they're doing this, but the people are into this segment, right? And Ray's saying, you're insulting not only our family, but El Santo and Blue Demon, and Eddie Guerrero got a big pop, and they chanted Eddie. And then Dominic said, keep my father's name out of your mouth.
Oh, what a line.
And the kids, he's come a long way. So Dominic's saying, I'm better than all of them, and I'm better than you. And Ray starts taking his jacket off, and the people are chanting, whoop his ass, whoop his ass. And then Dominic tells Ray, get out of my ring. Everybody is like a squatter. They've claiming ownership of the ring. So Ray says, I'm going to leave, but as long as I'm around, you're never going to be the king of lucha libre, and this will never be your ring, and you'll never be the greatest Mysterio. And so Dominic swung at him, and they had a little scuffle, and Ray hit the 619, and Dominic bailed. And that was, again, excellent. I want to see the eventual match again. I know they've done things before, but this is all brand new now. Otherwise than that, it was a little bit dreary, the rest of the program.
Will we get that match on Raw or a pay-per-view, or will we get it in AAA?
Oh, what? Why couldn't it be on a premium live event and in AAA? Because it'll work more than once, and I would think that the markets are far enough apart where they could do it a couple of times. I wouldn't just give it away on Raw. But what do I know?
Well, we'll see what happens with the Mysterios. Did you see Adam Pearce pulling the balls or the ballots, whatever it was?
No, was he pulling his balls out again? We had to talk to him about that several times in Ring of Honor.
It wasn't.
He's so proud of them.
Yes, he calls one Ross and the other Sid.
Yes.
From what I understand,
And of course, one of them was bigger than the other, so he had the sort of lopsided testicular situation going on there. But yeah,
but the drawing, I guess, the drawing is the word I'm looking for, of the contestants for the tournament to wrestle John Cena on Saturday night's main event on Peacock for his last.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that part.
Yeah, they did half of it, and it was just not really exciting. It was Sheamus versus someone, Damian Priest versus someone, and then Sheamus versus someone. And yeah, we'll see what this is. But that was Raw. That was Raw. Jim.
Yeah.
You know, John Cena is a man who's about to have a lot of time on his hands and a lot of money at his disposal. You know, John Cena may say, it's time to play the slots. He's had plenty of, now it's the slots.
He's had enough experience with the sluts, and now he's going for the slots.
With our good friends at DK Casino.
Well, when you're going to the casino, ladies and gentlemen, now you go to a virtual casino. No longer do you have to get in your car and drive to a place and park at a garage and walk in the thing, and there's no clocks and there's no windows, and you get lost with all of the booze and the hookers and the politicians wandering around. Now you can beat in the casino from the privacy of your own home with DraftKings Casino, because you just download the thing and there you go. And they are the home of cash eruption. Can you imagine the sensation of having cash erupt all over you? You're standing next to a big mound of dirt and suddenly, boom, the thing blows up and there's cash just spewing everywhere. That's the kind of feeling you're going to have when you spin the largest collection of cash eruption slots anywhere that you're going to find at DraftKings Casino, including the new and exclusive Big Bank Breakout. Brian, you remember Big Bank Breakout? He was a member of the original Sugar Hill Gang. You remember him?
That was Hank, not Bank. But if you want to make bank,
it was Big Bank Hank.
It was Big Bank Hank. That's true.
Yeah, his last name was Breakout. Hank Breakout. He was from up in the Bronx. Nevertheless,
whether on Sugar Hill or Mulberry Lane, it doesn't matter.
You're going to go to Sugar Town. You know, Mary Hill used to love to hang out in Cherry Hill Park. I understand that was a big thing. But nevertheless, you can get 500 spins over 10 days period of time on your choice of cash eruption slots when you wager $5. You just wager $5, you're going to get 500 spins. That's would be like 10 cents a spin. Would that be $50? What's the math on that?
I think
it's a penny a piece.
They've asked us not to do any math, but talk about what a great deal it is for the listeners.
Well, Jiminy Christmas, this is almost nothing. Play classic cash eruption today, then red hot joker or coins and clovers tomorrow. It's all up to you. I'll take the coins. You can keep the clover. But if you get a 4-leaf clover, then the red hot joker comes over and plays poker with you. And it's red hot joker poker. It's all up to you. Get the app, sign up with the code Cornette, and then start spinning. On the home of cash eruption, you will spin until you're spun out. Many of the DK Casino folks that you'll find have spun themselves into a frenzy, because DK Casino is the place to go to spin these spinners until they're all spun out and the money spews out in your face, just drenches you. The crown is yours at DraftKings Casino.
That's right. The crown is yours.
The code is Cornette.
The code is Cornette. They support us, support them. DK Casino. And if you win anything, remember your friends.
Yes, and also we're starting a GoFundMe for medical bills in case I have some type of aneurysm or stroke. Reading the disclaimer. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 plus, physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia only. Void in Ontario. Eligibility restrictions apply. Non-withdrawable casino spins issued as 50 spins per day for 10 days. Valid for featured game only and expire each day after 24 hours. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/promos. Ends January 4th, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. That would be 10:59 p.m. Central Time, and continue down the line. Not available in the Netherlands Antilles.
The crown is yours. Something fell. The crown is yours. God's damn it. All right,
the king
Jim,
is dead.
The king is dead. But don't worry, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is here to save everyone. Jim, let's move on here with the show, if that is indeed possible. I have a list here. I have a list that was compiled by...
I'm out of breath.
I have a list that was compiled by Bleacher Report.
Oh, good Lord.
The top 20 WWE and AEW stars in their 20s. A lot of listeners sent over this link. They wanted to get your thoughts on this list, and if you think it's fair, right, wrong, indifferent.
Indifferent. I have a pen now to jot down notes.
Number 20, Hook.
Well, he fits. He's 20-something years old.
26 years old, and of course a 3-time former FTW champion.
Okay. I'm going to have to see the other 19 before I got to see where this list is to determine whether or not he should have made a top 20. But geez, oh, Pete, besides the long extended absences for reasons that we don't know, he's still doing kind of the same thing he was doing 5 years ago, isn't he?
But Jim, number 19 on the list, a former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champion on 2 occasions, the 28-year-old Kevin Knight from Jet Speed.
Okay, well, yeah, I remember him. He's Hong Kong Phooey's partner. I can believe this. He's 20, whatever the fuck years old you just said. And he's got potential. He's athletic. He's got a personality. He's stuck with Ricky Steamboat's daughter as a tag team partner and in a tag team roster and booking situation that is just meaningless. But he got potential.
Here's an interesting one at number 18, a former 2-time U.S. champion, a former SmackDown Tag Champion, and a former Money in the Bank winner, the 28-year-old Austin Theory.
Where is he?
The description here on Bleacher Report, it is an indictment of Triple H and his creative regime that Theory does not rank higher on the list. And it doesn't say where he is, though.
Well, here's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that it's an indictment of Austin Theory that he must be just a heat-getting son of a bitch or some kind of complete fucking moron. Because as good as he looks, as impeccable as the technical part of his work was in the ring, with the timing and the athletic ability he had of bumping and selling and feeding and offense and etc., if they haven't not only been able to teach him how to be one of the top in-ring fucking performers in the business today psychologically in the last 5 years, he must be just what's wrong with him? That's what we got to find out. Does he just piss everybody off around him? Or is he just incapable of getting the thought process? Because I would put, as far as young guys in the business, for every attribute that you could possibly have, physically, appearance-wise, performance-wise, he and Bron Breakker are it. And Bron's where he is, and where the fuck is Theory at? So there's got to be, I've never met the kid. So there's got to be something happening that they ain't using him.
If he was just hurt, or if there was another reason other than, him being so bad that they don't want to use him, they use some bad people, would you consider him someone that you would put with Paul Heyman in the Vision?
Well, yes, because it's tailor-made, except he and Braun might collide, not really professionally, but they might draw attention away from each other. You want to make these guys the center of attention of a group, but not just stand on their own at the start. But I'm not saying that Austin Theory has some kind of goddamn, criminal history of being a mad arsonist or something, of can't get into other countries, or is something wrong with him in that respect. I'm saying he's either got to be, he ain't getting what they're wanting him to do, or he's a heat magnet that just pisses everybody off. Because even going back when they were still using him, Vince loved him, and with the egg and all of the whole thing. But once Vince was gone, they demoted him all the way down the ladder. Is it heat with Triple H personally, or with a wide circle of people? Or is it that, that for some reason he gets that heat? But this is a guy that for the past 3 years, they should have been grooming to be the same thing they're doing with Braun right now, unless there's something going on we don't know about. I would love input from anybody who has feedback on this.
Yeah, it's definitely a long way down from beating John Cena at WrestleMania. But Jim, number 17, and I don't even know if you'll have much to say about 16, but number 17, 28 years old, NXT Women's Champion, or at least that's one of her accomplishments, Tatum Paxley, followed by 16.
Well, wait a minute. I remember Tatum Paxley in Paper Moon with Ryan O'Neal.
That was Tatum O'Neal, actually.
Oh.
Very talented, incredibly talented child actress. But Tatum Paxley, 28, and followed by JC Jane, 29 years old. She has, in the past, won the Women's Tag Championship at NXT, the TNA Knockouts Championship, Tag Championship twice, and the Women's Championship.
Good for her. She never gives up.
At number 15, Jim, 29 years old, former AEW World Trios Champion, 3-time Ring of Honor Pure Champion, Wheeler Yuta.
Oh, good Lord. I don't know what to tell you. When the developmental program was in its infancy 20-something years ago, we had 25 guys on the roster at a training school that had a better look, could cut a better promo, had a better physique, was in better overall working shape, and could run circles around Wheeler Yuta. I'm sorry, he's every indie guy that's not, they like him. He's a nice guy. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but no. And at the same point, when Kyle came in, we've talked about him. He has gained in size. He's worked on his physique. Even though he's kind of dressing up like a cross between the Grand Wizard and superstar Billy Graham, he's just all over the place. At least he's done something. Yuta and Garcia look the same as they did physically, do the same shit in the ring. Yuta's grown his hair longer. And they've done no work on their presentation.
Jim at number 14, 27 years old, a former TNT champion and Ring of Honor Pure champion, Daniel Garcia.
Okay, well, there you go.
At number 13, Jim, her accomplishments include an AEW Women's Championship, the Owen Hart Classic winner in 2024, and the NXT Women's North American Champion, which I believe, championship, I should say, which I believe she currently holds. 27 years old, Blake Monroe.
Shit, that's Mariah May.
Mariah May.
Well, there you go.
She may not hold on to her name. Yes.
The jury is out on if she improves, how quickly she improves now that she's in this system. But so far, of the other girls on the list, I would have Blake Monroe here. Yes.
At number 12, his accomplishment is the Wrestling Observer Rookie of the Year for 2024.
Oh, Christ.
Does it have his age here? Hold on. 21 years old, Javon Evans.
Okay, Javon Evans. I've said before when we talked about his matches the last few weeks, what I would do with him. I would make him the guy that does the dives over the top to the floor and the crazy shit off the top rope, so that it would stand out and focus on him and get him to settle down just a little bit. Don't rush. Get the maximum effort out of all the shit that he can do. But, you know, he's a wonderful underdog type babyface that can do the springy things, the bouncy things.
He is so far the youngest person on this list, so that's another thing. You know,
well, yeah, and I'll tell you what. Unfortunately, I talked about the OVW roster earlier. This would be old for the developmental rosters that we had from 2000, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody talks about the class of 2001. Jesus Christ. They're either not starting as quick these days or it's taking them longer.
At number 11, two-time AAA Mega Champion, two-time AAA World Trios Champion, and the 2019 Copa Antonio Peña winner, 28-year-old El Hijo del Vikingo.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, so far, except for Kevin Knight and Blake Monroe and obviously Austin Theory, well, and Javon Evans. So we got 4 and we're down to the top 12 or whatever. These people are all interchangeable because I wouldn't really be particularly interested in any of them.
At number 10, Jim, 26 years old, WWE Women's Championship, NXT Women's Championship, Money in the Bank winner 2024, Tiffany Stratton.
Tiffany, okay, we got a star there. She's achieved that level. So yes. Now we got 1, 2, 3, 4 people I'd take. And Kevin Knight, he's got potential.
At number 9, a former AEW TNT champion, a former AEW World Tag Team champion, and a former FTW champion, 28 years old, Jungle Jack Perry.
Oh, boy. Well, I wonder if he's got a career to fall back on. Didn't somebody say he's making knives now?
Someone said something like he's a welder, or I don't know what the hell he does.
Well,
he's had a lot of spare time. I mean, he may do a lot of things.
Hopefully he'll pursue that.
Beyond like all the drama that he caused and everything else, just in terms of his career, you know, this list 5 years ago when he was 23, it wouldn't have been unreasonable. Is he better off today than he was then? Has he gained 10 pounds today that he didn't have then? So I don't know if he's
doing the same thing today with the same tag team partner that he was 5 years ago. He's exactly the same size, and now he's just got a bunch of the fans mad at him because they blame him for losing the biggest star in the company.
Jim at number 8, 23 years old, a former WWE Women's Tag Team Champion. I think former. I'm not sure actually. Well, she's held it. Also, the NXT Women's Championship on 2 occasions, the Women's Tag Team Championship in NXT, and, I didn't know this, the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight, not heavyweight, the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. 23 years old, Roxanne Perez.
Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light.
She was the first Ring of Honor Women's Champion. I actually did not know that.
They ought to, as a rib, they ought to make the women all call it the Women's World or Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. I would take Roxanne. She's a perky little thing. So we got 6 on this list so far that can go somewhere.
At number 7, 29 years old, 3-time TNA Knockouts champion, TNA Digital Media Championship.
Oh, Christ.
And the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championship. All accomplishments for Jordynne Grace.
Have we seen her wrestle yet? Did we see her on one show? What?
I believe we saw her in back-to-back Royal Rumbles, and then I think she can't. Is she just in NXT? I mean,
no, she was refereeing. She was the referee in that NXT show we watched here a while back. I don't know how her work is. I know she got quite of a snit at me when I called her a butterface a number of years ago. Yeah. Well, I also remember I trended on Twitter because I called her a butterface. That's when she was a little chubby, and then she's got on the sauce and leaned up for the bodybuilding thing. I don't know. She's starting to get that Nicole Bass voice because they actually, the fans clipped videos and put it side by side up on Twitter where 10 years ago she sounded like Cindy Brady. Now she sounds like a lurch. But I don't know how her work is, so I can't really commentate.
All right, you rang. Jim, number 6. This man is 27 years old. He's held the NXT Championship and the NXT North American Championship. Obafemi.
Okay, remember we watched a show a while back. He was on it. And I was like, why the fuck is he putting on the Nigerian accent? And that killed it for me. But he's got size and charisma and etc. So he's a legitimate list maker, I would think. So we got 7.
He is Nigerian, although I think we both saw audio or video of him talking where he did not have such a pronounced accent. Yeah.
He's a putting it on. That's what he's doing.
Well, Jim, we have now cracked the top 5. At number 5.
Cracked is a good word for that.
2-time NXT champion, NXT Tag Team Championship title holder, and 2-time Intercontinental champion, 28 years old, Braun Breaker.
This is not number 1.
Number 5.
What fucking psychedelic drugs are they on over at are they drinking the bleach or just reporting on it?
It's Bleacher Report, not Bleach Report. They're not drinking bleach.
What do bleachers use to bleach with? Bleach.
What?
Those fumes will goddamn affect you. See, think about that. They're there all day over a big tub of bleaching things.
Well, look, obviously they see things this way, but number 5, Braun Breaker, 28 years old. Certainly not someone inhaling bleach. And certainly someone who has exhausted Jim's comments about him today.
What more can I say? Oh my God, the taste of his semen is remarkable. It's like a caviar. I'd love to lick his taint. What else can I say about the fucking guy?
You know, I could have just said nothing.
Comments?
I don't know what you just said, but that triggered something. Jim, number 4. 29 years old. Former AEW World Champion, former AEW International Champion, former Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion, and 5-time Dynamite Diamond Ring winner, MJF.
MJF, how old is he now?
29.
He just right to see. Hey, one more year and we can't trust him. Never trust anybody over 30, right?
Well, kids say that. I mean, when you get older, you don't say that.
Well, I was always told that when I was young. That's why I haven't trusted myself in over 30 years. Obviously, MJF belongs on the list, but God bless America, he needs to get the fuck out of there before they grind him to dust. He's a talent that every time he's off television, I keep hoping that something will happen where when he comes back, he can kind of recapture what he had before they just fucking ruined it all. But I think it's going to be a new environment at some point, or he'll just stay in Hollywood. But he's got as good as he's going to get in this company. And it's been a while ago.
AEW has had his 20s. I'd like to think that WWE more than likely will have his 30s because he's an ambitious guy. The one thing Tony could do is throw money at him. But with WWE, you'll get money if you're a main guy, but also the opportunities that could open up.
To be as good as you can be, to take a tagline from the Marines commercials or whatever they were in the old days. Yeah, there you go. Well, Air Force, Marines, they're all recruiting.
Part of the armed services. But Jim, number 3 on this list, 26 years old, AEW TNT Championship, Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship, Ring of Honor World Television Championship, Kyle Fletcher.
Okay, have you noticed everybody that works for Tony has had multiple titles in like the last 2? Kyle definitely deserves to be on this list above Braun Breaker. Well, nobody deserves to be above Braun Breaker. I think, honestly, Kyle might be in the number 2 position here right now since Austin Theory is MIA and MJF has been booked into insensibility. And that's why it's all the more frustrating to me that Kyle is where he is, because as I've said many times, so I won't belabor it, he's going to learn a lot of stupid things that nobody will be there to tell him are stupid, and he's not going to progress like he could if he was around some structure.
I don't disagree with you, but I do think he may be someone who could learn quickly when he goes to a new place.
Oh, well, see, that's the thing. Quick learners are easier to fuck up. Teach them the wrong way to do it, and then it's harder to figure out how not to do it and do the other thing.
Well, Jim, that was number 3. We are now down to the final 2.
I'd like to see the 2 that are going to top Braun Breaker and Kyle Fletcher.
At number 2, 28 years old. Intercontinental Championship, NXT North American Championship on 2 occasions, and SmackDown Tag Team Championship. All won by Dominic Mysterio.
Oh, Cinderella story. Out of nowhere, Dominic is ahead. Dominic is ahead of everybody in terms of experience here. Braun still has to be number 1 because he's just generational, but Dominic, for his success, he's not as talented verbally, maybe even in the ring technically as MJF is, but he's had the booking and he's gotten more and more over instead of less and less over because he's been in the right place. And all 3 of those guys are way ahead of Kyle. So Dominic comes in at number 2.
All right, Jim. Well, number 1 on this list, and so far you've said
Who the fuck would that be?
You have said Braun Breaker would be your number 1. 29 years old, a Raw Women's Champion, Women's World Champion on 2 occasions, NXT Women's Champion, NXT UK Women's Champion, a WWE World Tag Team Champion, and the winner of the 2023 Royal Rumble, Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley. Okay, as soon as you said Women's Champion, I was, Jesus Christ. But I forgot that Rhea's still a young spring chicken. She's still got to be number 2 because Braun is number 1, but goddamn, there's no better female wrestler in the world that combines all the tools necessary, the look, the promo, the size, the working ability, and the psychology that she shows in her matches. So she has to be number 2 only because Braun Breaker is going to be the biggest star in the business over the next 3 to 5 years. But I'll make them 1 and 2.
You know, it's interesting too. We've gone over a list like this several times over the last 5 years, 6 years. And over the last several years, MJF and Rhea Ripley are like always at the very top. And next year, neither of them will be on this list because they'll be 30. Siobhan Evans was 21. The other youngest guys were what? Roxanne Perez was 23. And then we had a few people who were 26. A few years ago, you would have had a younger, I mean, again, the same people. A lot of the same people were on this list. It was a younger list. We'll see who comes up next, but
humor me a second because I wasn't prepared for this and I don't have I don't think reference material. No, maybe I do, but you can help me. Hold on here.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Here.
Oh, thank you.
We've got 20 guys and girls that are in their 20s in the entire mainstream wrestling business, right? That they've listed here.
Right.
I'm just going back to a big card in Mid-South Wrestling in 1984. And just a quick glance at, I think almost certainly 60% of the goddamn card will be in their 20s. Let me just pick something that is the middle of the summer Superdome. And you might need to help me out on some of these because this is 1984. Robert Gibson was born in 1958. So Robert was like 25, 26. Ricky Morton, this was
holy shit.
41 years ago. So he was only 26, 7. The Midnight Express, Dennis Condrey was 32. Bobby was 26. Hercules Hernandez wasn't out of his 20s. Mr. Wrestling 2 was old enough for 2 different people, but Princess Victoria and Velvet McIntyre and Wendy Richter and Peggy Lee shouldn't really count. They weren't regulars, but they were in their 30s or 20s. Chris Adams, was he yet 30 years old? Jimmy Garvin was 18 years old in 1973, so he was 29. Precious, Terry Taylor, he was mid-20s.
I just looked that one up. I was blown away to see he's 70 years old now. He's born in 55.
Who?
Terry Taylor.
Terry Taylor. Really? So he was 29 there. Son of a gun.
Seeing that he's 70.
Still in his 20s.
I just seeing that he was 70. Just I guess I just didn't expect that. Wow.
Well, he started he turned pro in 77 or 78. What about Magnum?
Let me look up Magnum. Jim Duggan turned 30 in 84.
Yeah, and he actually wasn't on his card. This was when he was why wasn't he on that card? I don't know, but nevertheless.
Magnum was born in 59.
Okay, Magnum was 25. Ted DiBiase. Was Teddy in his early 30s by that point?
JYD was. Ted DiBiase was born in 54. He turned 30 in 84.
Okay, well, depending on what month, he was still only 29. Buddy Landell was 24, I think, 25. Sonny King, obviously in his 40s. JYD, early 30s. Butch Reed. Was he 30 yet?
Butch Reed turned 30 in July of 1984.
So this is June, so he's still 29. That's the point of a Superdome card. There were 3 guys out of their 20s. And I was 23. No, 22. So it wasn't that unusual back then because guys got started earlier and they got more experience quicker. And now this is the cream of the crop of people in their 20s in the entire mainstream business, and most of them are in their late 20s.
Well, that was our look at wrestlers, the top 20 in their 20s here in 2025, the end of 2025. Jim, a wrestling fan may see that list and say, I want to sue.
Well, I'll tell you exactly who to call. He's an old son of a bitch, but he'll get it right because he's got experience. Play the music.
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. He'll sue the rest.
Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com. 877-50-STEVE. You know, Brian, he's decided to continue his practice even though he reached the retirement age of 65. He's going on. He'll never quit because he loves representing the poor, the downtrodden, and the disheartened. And if you're poor, he's still going to represent you because he'll just get even with the other son of a bitch you're mad at and get money from him. 877-50-STEVE, the number to call. He's old, but he's good.
He's not that old. I don't know where that came from. He's normal.
Oh, he's so old. When he was in school, they didn't have history. Didn't you hear about his mother? She charged the Light Brigade.
All right, well, can we leave him alone? I don't know why you're picking on him here, but...
His birth certificate was chiseled into granite.
Newlawoffice.com, one of those newfangled websites. Jim, let's get a few questions before we get to guest the program. We'll get more questions next week. We won't have Saturday night's main event to review. This one, you don't have to answer. I just want to read it to you because I got such a kick out of it. This was sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Alex in South Korea /UK.
What?
I don't know.
Is he bi-coastal or
I don't
whatever
know.
the term is for those folks that do those things?
Apologies if you've addressed this wrestler before, but I'd love to hear your opinion on the wrestler Roscoe Monroe's Sputnik Brumbow. I recently saw a social media post that says he was labeled a communist for simply standing up for the black community and inviting a black person into the ring with him many decades ago. If true, it's great to hear of a wrestler actually doing something progressive, rather than the usual toxic antics we hear about. Can you shed any more light on this gentleman? Warm regards, and thank you to you both.
Oh, boy. Well, order Heroes and Friends at jimcornette.com. There's actually, I can plug the book again because this is kind of answering the question. There is a more complete and chronological and detailed story of the impact that Sputnik had in Memphis, in wrestling, and in the greater civil rights picture in my story in Heroes and Friends than there is out there most places, because most people either concentrate on the story of integrating the Ellis Auditorium, and most others don't concentrate on what Sputnik did and the facts and figures and the opponents and the matches and the things that he did to get the standing in Memphis to be able to be the guy that did these things, and how well known he was in the city as a result of all of his antics. So I can say that he wasn't called a communist. The old lady in Alabama that saw him with the black hitchhiker that he had picked up to help drive for him because he was tired, they walk in the building, and the old woman, as the story goes, screams, "You're nothing but a damn Sputnik," because that was the name of the Soviets' space program. We were in the fucking early stages of the space race. Were we going to get there, or were the commies going to get there? And that's why I said in the book, it's lucky that the space program was on people's minds, or his name could have been Commie Monroe for the rest of his life. But that was that story. And I urge you to pick up the book for all the rest of them in more detail. And what did he say his name was? Elvis Rock Monroe Brumbaugh Sputnik. How did he phrase it?
I'd love to hear your opinion on the wrestler Roscoe Monroe's Sputnik Brumbaugh.
Roscoe Monroe Brumbaugh was his actual real government name, as the kids say. And he had been working in Alabama as Elvis Rock Monroe. He'd worked as Rock Monroe and et cetera. And then when he picked up the Sputnik tag and brought that to Memphis, and then that was the end of it from there. But brought one more factoid and we'll move on. But Sputnik Monroe drew the two largest wrestling crowds in the history of the city of Memphis, Tennessee, both in the same month in 1959. And as I mentioned in the book, wrestling was for a variety of reasons, which I won't go into here. Wrestling was pretty much dead in Memphis and had been for a few years. And as Buddy Wayne told me 25 years later, flat out, he said the business in Memphis was dead and Sputnik Monroe saved it.
I don't know if Elvis Monroe would have worked.
No, well, it might have got heat in Memphis, but I don't know if he would have. He probably wouldn't have got to hang out with Sam Phillips's kids if he'd ripped off Elvis in Memphis.
Dad, you know how you were talking about selling Elvis to RCA?
Yeah.
We got a new Elvis. All right, Jim. Our next question was sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Zach. What was the process like for the call-ups of Cena, Brock, Batista, and Orton? Did you have any influence in the decision to bring them to the main roster? And did you expect them to stand out amongst the other OVW call-outs? Call-ups, not call-outs, call-ups.
Now we're calling you out to high noon there, baby. That was when Jim Ross was still the vice president of talent relations, and therefore we had a good relationship with the office, and we got information, and there was information shared. And the call-ups for everybody was somewhat different, but and with Brock, right off the bat, he didn't actually come straight from OVW, because that's when I mentioned Brock is just always has been. He says he doesn't like people. He doesn't want to, he lives in Saskatoon somewhere on a farm with the cows and the llamas, whatever. It was the same thing. He didn't want to be in Louisville. And he whined and griped to the office that his girlfriend in Minnesota was pregnant and got to leave the program about 6 months early and go train with Brad Ringans in a fucking barn. But at least he was, home, right? So that was the call-up process there. And to be honest, since I've said before, I knew Brock was going to get over. He's a modern-day Dick the Bruiser. And he's, a freak athlete, but I was unimpressed with the effort that he gave in developmental. And so I didn't mind losing him. He wasn't a linchpin of something that was going to screw my shows up if he was gone. So he was still working out and checking in with the office. And, when he was in Minnesota, and then they started bringing him over for the dark matches or whatever. With who else was on the list? Cena, Orton,
and Batista.
Who else did you say? Batista. With Cena and Orton, they did have them coming up to TVs for dark matches and different things. And I think Orton's first appearance on TV, though, was like an extra in a bar fight they did at a SmackDown in Louisville. But that was when he had just started in OVW. But then, we would coordinate, and we would know when guys were being called up, or at least taking the next step by going to the dark matches. And obviously they would miss some classes, but they'd be on the road learning there. So that was easy. And that was kind of the absorption period where Cena and Orton, and with Batista, I don't think they did that many dark matches with him. I could be wrong, but that was look at the sight of him. That's why I was trying to explain to him, and always tried to explain to him, he couldn't be taking arm drags in the second match as just some guy on the show. Because look at him. Then he overshadowed everybody physically. He could stand next to Kane, and you'd go, geez, Glenn needs to do a little working out. So he needed to be, and then they botched it completely in that they made him Devon Dudley's fucking assistant when Devon was a preacher or a deacon or whatever the fuck he was. And that clown outfit they put Batista in covered up his body until he started working out with Triple H. And then that allowed him to get in, but they almost botched it, but in the end it worked out. But I don't remember them taking him on the road for a variety of dark matches, but I remember them giving me a firm date on him that he was finishing up, because I think he did his only job that he had done in OVW to John Cena before he left.
Did you ever think they would bring him up as Leviathan?
Well, when I first did the gimmick, I thought, well, let's see what the fuck. I honestly, it would have been better than what they did. He might have eventually become Batista, but it would have been better than the fucking guy with an armless tuxedo jacket and a collection box around his neck. But again,
Deacon Batista.
But it's the same thing we did with Glenn Kane was Unabomb. Same goddamn gist, big masked guy. I was creating opponents for the monsters they already had. And with Leviathan, if you're say, okay, we got Undertaker versus Kane, we got Kane versus Big Show, we've got Big Show versus Undertaker. You throw Leviathan into the mix, and then you've got 4 giant monsters, and you've got, what's the math? 16 combinations or whatever the fuck it is of guys that all have completely different personalities, gimmicks, and looks, but are the movie monster type that you can do those matches with. And as I've said before, I knew Batista wasn't going to have a long career because he was already a bit older. He was almost 30. He may have been over 30 when he started with us, maybe 31 or 32. Injury prone and not a natural. So let's get something out of this. Give him a gimmick.
All right, Jim.
And remember, we've also worked out that his active WWE career, active pro wrestling career, when you took out injury time, lasted less than 6 years. So I was kind of right about that too.
All right, Jim, as I said earlier, more questions next week, we promise, but why don't we wrap things up with some Guest the Program, a very popular segment here on the show. Are you up for
Where
it today?
I, in my borderline mystical way, will determine the year and the location of the card that you mentioned without ever knowing that ahead of time, because I'm like that.
How do you feel today? You feel like you're up for the task?
I'm feeling pretty good. I didn't do too bad. I nailed one a couple of times ago. I'm not doing too bad last time. I'm feeling confident. Give it 2 out of 3. I'm going to get 2 out of 3 right off the bat.
Well, we have more than 3 here, but let's
I'm just saying I'm going to predict I'm going to get 2 out of 3.
All right, I'm going to go from main event on down for this card. The main event is a tag team match, or it's actually a triple main event now that I look, but a tag team match. Best 2 out of 3 falls, 60-minute time limit. The Donovan brothers, Red and Doug, versus Greg Peterson and Larry Shane.
Jesus.
There'll be an intermission with lucky numbers announced. Best 2 out of 3 falls, 60-minute time limit. Tex Riley versus Billy Wicks.
Oh, boy. Okay.
One other outstanding match, one of the Donovan brothers will tangle with Greg Peterson or Larry Shane in the bout. It will be announced at ringside.
Well, the natural inclination is for this to be Memphis, Tennessee. There is an element of possibility that you would throw in, considering Greg Peterson and Larry Shane and potentially Billy Wicks, that you would throw in something from Mobile, Alabama. But I don't know that that would be likely. Doug Donovan later on became one of the Von Brauners, did he not?
You would know better than I.
And obviously Tex Riley, a longtime Tennessee babyface hero. Billy Wicks, the guy that Sputnik Monroe drew those 2 record houses that we talked about earlier against in Memphis. But Tex Riley against Billy Wicks, if this was Memphis, they would both be baby faces. But was this a tournament match? Possibly. I'm going to say, you son of a bitch. Just Mobile, Alabama, 1958.
You know, I guess because you've lost so much weight, you can't really go with your gut as much as you used to. Memphis, Tennessee.
God damn it.
Monday night, March 9th, 1959.
See, I knew that Wicks was in Mobile in 58. Why was Tex Riley wrestling Billy Wicks?
Sputnik Monroe will return here next Monday and has demanded a championship match with Jesse James or Billy Wicks, both holders of sectional titles. Beat a wrestler, win $100 or $1 per minute in ring. Promoter Buddy Fuller announced this week that any of the spectators who wish to challenge a wrestler may do so. The spectator will be paid $1 for every minute he could stay with the wrestler, or $100 if he wins. Boy, that's a dangerous stipulation.
No, the Fullers used to love that shit. That was an old trick to basically get some goddamn credibility for the business. And remember this, they were just getting to the hot period. Sputnik had just gotten there in December, and they were starting to draw crowds. But they had been on their ass for the previous year and a half. So Buddy Fuller loved to do shit like that. It would get interest, it would cause talk, and it would get credibility for the wrestling business. And they would pick whoever on the card that was the legitimate guy against whatever. No college wrestling standout usually was going to fucking show up on one of these things. But remember, that's how in Columbus, Georgia, Tim Woods lost half of one of his fingers. Fucking soldier from what is the army base down there near Columbus, Georgia? Fort fucking whatever. He got up there and they were supposed to just wrestle, but he started being a goddamn smartass apparently, and Woods started to hook him and got his finger close enough to the guy's mouth. The guy bit half of Woods's finger off. And then apparently Woods went to town on him, and many of his service buddies were there, and it created a scene. So this was 1959 in Memphis. That was somewhere in the late 60s, I think, in Columbus, Georgia, maybe early 70s. So by that point, they had kind of given up doing shit like that.
All right, Jim, let's go to what it says here. B&S Kosher Style Restaurant and Delicatessen. Finest corned beef and cabbage, bakery sandwiches, and complete dinner. Kosher style. So they don't want to pay the rabbi. That's what that means. Not kosher, but kosher style. Jim, let's go to this next one here. Here we go. This is an interesting one. The card. There are 6 main events on this card. The first main event.
Does it actually say that 6 big main events?
No. It says first main event, second main event, third main event, fourth, and so on and so forth. The first main event, Dick Hutton versus Steve Stanley. 1 fall, 20-minute time limit. The second main event, Buddy Rogers versus Ilio DiPaolo. 1 fall, 20-minute time limit. The third main event, Yukon Eric versus Sky High Lee.
They weren't kidding.
1 fall, 20-minute time limit.
Main events.
Fourth main event, Vern Gagne versus Wilbur Snyder.
Christ.
1 fall, 30-minute time limit. The fifth main event, Whipper Billy Watson versus Swede Carlson. 1 fall, 30 minutes. And finally, the sixth main event, 1 fall to a finish, Lou Thez versus Baron Gattoni.
Good Lord. Okay. Where do we start? I mean, I thought that it was a promotional rib from a hyperbolic booker, but Dick Hutton was the guy who would succeed Thez as NWA champion in the late 50s, but not succeed as champion. Unfortunately, Steve Stanley was one of the top heels in the country at one point in time in the mid-50s. Buddy Rogers, I don't need to go any further. Ilio DiPaolo was a legend in Buffalo, New York, and in the Northeast had a restaurant. Yukon Eric, one of the top babyface attractions in the business in the late 50s, and the guy that Killer Kowalski, his knee drop potatoed Yukon Eric's cauliflower ear off. Sky High Lee, one of the early giants in the business. This was probably late in his career because he started in the late 30s, was already a name in California in the early 40s. Gagne and Snyder would have been the hot United States heavyweight title program or close to between two of the greatest scientific wrestlers of the mid-50s off the Chicago TV. Whipper Billy Watson, former NWA champion, and what is he number 2 or number 3 on the all-time Canadian draw list with the Sheik and Jacques Rougeau Sr., maybe. Poor Swede Carlson's a job guy in this mix. And then Thez against Baron Gattoni, who again was kind of a Baron Leone offshoot that was a top heel in the mid-50s. This, goddamn, I got the vibe that it should be this is in the Northeast somewhere. And at the same time as it might be a wonderful Chicago International Amphitheater card at some point, I don't see all those names there, all these names there at the same time. Could this have been Hutton in a preliminary like that? Because he didn't last long in the business after he lost the NWA title. And Rogers against Ilio DiPaolo with Thez on top indicates that this is, I think it's, and Gagne Snyder, it's the mid-50s. Why do I think of Buffalo, Montreal, or Toronto?
Is it the food?
It could be the gas I got from the food. And Jesus Christ, this is tough because this is some kind of mega card that some promoter is putting on that wants to prove a point. Buffalo, New York, the War Memorial Auditorium, 1956.
Wow. The Parade of Champions, Wednesday, November 21st, 1956. The Memorial Auditorium, Buffalo, New York.
Boom!
Wow.
Boom!
I thought you would trip up on this. That's so impressive. All right. Very
Boom!
good.
Because I knew they were out of the Midwest because of DePaulo and Gattoni and Billy Watson and Elio DePaulo being on the show against Buddy Rogers. It just stuck in my head and I couldn't get away from it. So, okay, I'm 1-1, baby.
All right. I know you're excited. Stop beating up the desk. But, Jim, let's get back to this next card here. The first match, 1 fall, 30-minute time limit. Billy Goals versus Gino Angelo. The semifinal, 2 out of 3 falls, 45-minute time limit. Gypsy Joe versus Kurt Stenke. And the main event, and it appears to be, I will give you what's listed and I'll give you the corrections that were put in. What's listed is the Volkov brothers versus Angelo Poffo and Hans Schmidt, 2 out of 3 fall, 60-minute time limit. What's written in for the Volkov brothers are the Gilbert brothers, and what's written in for Hans Schmidt is Bronco Lubitsch.
Well, the Gilbert brothers, was that, oh, God damn, was it Doug and Johnny?
I'm actually not sure.
Why am I, or Johnny Gilbert may be a game show announcer. The Volkovs was the original.
That's the guy from Jeopardy. That's right.
Yeah. The Volkovs, the original Nikolai Volkov, right? And his brother Boris.
I believe so.
Gypsy Joe was not the Tennessee Gypsy Joe that wrestled well into his elderly years, but the Chicago Gypsy Joe. Billy Gills is a journeyman that was wrestling in the 50s in the Midwest. Gino Angelo, did he work as the brother of Martino Angelo, or was he just using the name? And obviously Angelo Poffo, the father of Randy Savage and Lanny Poffo, and Hans Schmidt, even though he wasn't there, was the top German heel of the early 50s off the Chicago TV, the first German heel after the war. And Bronco Lubitsch would later on be the kindly old referee in World Class, but he would, in between his wrestling days and his refereeing days, he was a manager. Having said all that, because this is a 3-match card, I think it is somewhere in the Chicagoland area, not the International Amphitheater, but something like, is it one of the smaller clubs around, the Rainbow Arena or whatever? So Marigold. As far as a year, I'm going to say 1957 somewhere. No. 1956 somewhere in the suburbs of downtown Chicago.
The date? Tuesday, December 16th, 1958.
Ah!
The promoter, Balk Estes, the Hammond Civic Center, Hammond, Indiana.
Hammond, Indiana. There you go. I'm still correct because that's 40 fucking miles.
All right, Jim, let's go to...
I got the place. I missed the year. So that's 1.5 out of 3. I'm tied.
All right. This next one here, Jim, a special lights out match. Terry Garvin versus T.G. Stone. The Mongo and Hacksaw Higgins.
Wait a minute, the what? The who?
The Mongo.
The Mongo, not Mongol?
Nope, it says Mongo.
Okay, Mongo.
And there's an article here that also calls him Mongo, so it's the Mongo and Hacksaw Higgins versus Jim Gorman and Tug Taylor.
Oh, you motherfucker.
The Ox, I don't know what caused that. The Ox versus Crazy Luke Graham. The Grapplers versus Jannetty and Rogers. And finally, the main event for a title I won't name, the champion Buzz Tyler versus the challenger Ted DiBiase.
Okay, well, we perked up a little bit. The Mongo, I've got no earthly clue. Hacksaw Higgins was Larry Higgins, and spent a little time. He was in Mid-South for a brief period of time in '84. Jim Gorman has been lost to time. Tug Taylor was Tugboat Taylor, who was based out of Texas for years and years. His son was a wrestler.
Oh, you know what? I missed a match. I apologize.
Oh, give me another one.
Another title match, the champion Gypsy Joe versus David Peterson.
Okay, and this Gypsy Joe is the Tennessee Gypsy Joe. And the Ox versus Luke Graham, is this Ox Baker? Or can you tell, or are there any pictures? I don't think that it would be, but just in case.
There are no pictures that say, or that show it, and I don't see any pictures that say, or there's nothing in here that indicates it's
Yes, nothing indicates that. So Luke Graham, this was maybe the last year or so of his full-time career. He worked some indies in Georgia because he was from Georgia after this. The thing that really tells you is the Grapplers, Jannetty and Rogers. Is that Tommy Rogers? Jannetty and Rogers?
It is Tommy Rogers, but not the famous Tommy Rogers, I don't believe.
It's the okay, Grappler and Buzz Tyler and Ted DiBiase were in the Central States. And my only problem is trying to figure out, the Grapplers had gotten together, Tony Anthony and Lynn Denton. The first time they got together was in Tennessee, and that was in '83. They were not a team before that. So I'm thinking that this is Kansas City, Missouri. And again, with Buzz Tyler, I'm thinking it's late 1983 or early 1984 in Kansas City.
The date? Thursday, August 23rd, 1984, Memorial Hall, Kansas City, Kansas.
Okay, I was a few months off.
All right, I'm going to give you, before we wrap things up with a couple that may be a little more difficult, I'll give you an easy one.
Oh, boy.
The opening contest, Jay Youngblood versus Matty Suzuki. Rocky Montero versus the Alaskan. Tony Russo versus Playboy Buddy Rose. And the final preliminary, Ricky Hunter versus Sergeant LaBouffe. A special...
That's LaBouffe to you.
A special tag team match. Tommy Samoa and Dutch Savage versus Apache Bull Ramos and Jesse the Great Ventura. And the main event, for a title I won't name, Terry Funk, the champion, versus Jimmy Snuka.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you, Jay Youngblood, everybody knows he was one of the Youngblood family who he was most famous for teaming with Ricky Steamboat. In that team, Matty Suzuki was an Asian heel for years in a variety of places. The Alaskan, who knows, it could have been Jay York, it could have been Mike York, it could have been Frank Monty. Buddy Rose is a tip-off on where we are. And so is Dutch Savage, Bull Ramos, and Jesse Ventura, all well known in the Portland Don Owens territory, but of course none better than Jimmy Snuka, who this was probably... Would he have gotten a shot at the NWA World Title, Snuka, before this? Maybe in Dallas, or was that This was before Dallas, right? Well, you can't tell
I'm not
me.
allowed to help you.
You're not allowed to say. I don't know who Tommy Samoa was. Was that Coco Samoa? One would.
I actually
wonder?
don't. I'm not sure. I don't think so based on the picture in here, but I'm not certain. But I don't.
Well,
think so.
we're in Portland, Oregon. We know that much. And I'm going to divine the year by a very strange method. Soldier LeBoeuf. The reason why that he was Soldier LeBoeuf is because he was part of the Legionnaires in Indianapolis when they were the WWA Tag Team Champions for Dick the Bruiser in 1975. And LeBoeuf, who was later on would work as the Russian Stomper, and goddamn, what was he? Was French Canadian, but he replaced Don Fargo as Jacques Goulet, Sergeant Jacques Goulet's tag partner, when Fargo did another one of the things Fargo usually does and left in the middle of the run. And Soldier LeBoeuf came in to replace Private Fargo. But by November 76, Soldier LeBoeuf was working as the Russian Stomper in the Goulas territory in Tennessee. So, since Terry Funk won the NWA title in December of 1975 and lost it in February of 1977, I'm saying we're in Portland, Oregon in 1976.
Jim, the Portland Sports Arena. Don Owen presents October 16th, 1976. And it was indeed an NWA World Title match for Jimmy Snuka.
Boom!
And there's
There
plenty
you
of
go.
bicentennial imagery here on this page. Let me go over here. All right, Jim. This one's really tough. I'll give it to you last. First preliminary, Don Arnold versus K.O. Murphy. One fall, 15-minute time limit. Beat the Champ, one fall, 15 minutes. Sandar Zabo versus Wilbur Snyder.
Ooh.
A special attraction, one fall to a finish. Sky High Lee versus Pat Fraley. Intermission match. Whatever that means. Is it during the intermission?
Yeah, get up and goddamn go piss and get your popcorn. This thing's going to suck.
One fall, 15 minutes. Barney Bernard versus Vic Christie.
The Chest. Barney the Chest Bernard.
The semifinal event, best 2 out of 3 falls, 45-minute time limit. Leo Garibaldi versus Jungle Boy.
You didn't know Perry was that old, did you?
And the main event, best 2 out of 3 falls, 1 hour time limit. Nicky Bockwinkel versus Billy Varga.
Okay, well, we are in either Los Angeles or Hollywood, however you want to describe it, depending on the venue, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be Los Angeles. Sandor Zabo was a big name in the business in the 40s and 50s and finished his career in the Southern California area, as I recall. Wilbur Snyder, after he got over on the Chicago television, spent, I think, a couple of years in the Southern California territory and was a major name. And the Beat the Champ title was one of the championships that they had in the territory. Sky High Lee, we just talked about, one of the first giants. And again, he had been around. I have programs of him in the Southern California territory in the early 40s. Vic Christie was the brother of Ted Christie, the Christie brothers, not only a babyface tag team, but notorious ribbers inside the business. Barney the Chest Bernard, hence because he had the big chest expansion. And Leo Garibaldi and Count Billy Varga, two Southern California mainstays. Billy Varga is on a ton of 60s TV shows, situation comedies. He was on the Munsters. If they needed a wrestler or a referee of some kind, chances are it was Billy Varga. And of course, Nicky Bockwinkel was a mere pup back in these days and had just started, but he was the son of Warren Bockwinkel and was always billed as a native of Woodland Hills, California. So we're at the Olympic Auditorium. The problem is, what year? And I've got to think, just to pick one out of three, it's somewhere between 1955 and 1957. So I'll say 1956.
Jim, it's the Olympic Auditorium, Los Angeles, California, March 15th, 1957.
Ah, shit.
Welcome home, Leo Garibaldi. This popular member of the wrestling Garibaldi clan will be making his first appearance at the Olympic Auditorium tonight after being discharged from the U.S. Air Force. 20 years old. So there's this program. All right, I'll give you this one. This one may be quick. Billy Parks versus Indian War Cloud. Coach John Heath versus Don Hartnett. Crusher Swede Carlson versus Paul Adam. Ray Vilmer versus Tiger Joe Tommaso. And the main event, for a tag title I will not name, Kurt and Carl von Bronner, accompanied by their manager, Gentleman Saul Weingroff, the tag team champions, versus Ramon and Alberto Torres.
Okay. Well, Indian War Cloud and Billy Parks give me no help at all, as did John Heath's opponent. What was his name?
It is Coach John Heath versus Don Hartnett.
Yeah. And Paul Adam, I don't know. John Heath, which led me down the path of Florida, was Coach John Heath, who was later on an integral part of the Florida Championship Wrestling office. He did some commentary, but he ran some local towns. He was an amateur wrestling advocate and coach, in the state of Florida. Swede Carlson, traveling heel. He was on another one of these cards. As a matter of fact, who the fuck was on the other card? He was on that big show in Buffalo in 56. Ray Vilmer is another journeyman that was a name recognized in the 50s and into the 60s. Tiger Tommaso was one of the assassins that Bobby Heenan broke into the business managing. And then Raymond and Alberto Torres, along with their brother Enrique Torres, were huge baby faces all over the South. And Enrique Torres had a big run in Southern California also.
As a world champion.
Yeah. And the Von Brauners and Saul were together from 1959 till 1973. So that narrows this down a bit. But because the Torres brothers were big in Georgia, I wanted to say Georgia, but with John Heath on the card, I'm thinking we're in Florida. And the Von Brauners in 1960, 61, 62, that window of time, were the dominant heel tag team down in Florida. And they worked a lot of deals with Eddie Graham, who was just getting over as a talent at that same time and getting into the office. We're in Tampa, 1961.
Jim, the promoter, Al Ritchie.
Uh-oh.
We are in Miami, Florida.
Son of a bitch.
Tuesday, January 14th, 1964.
Oh!
This is the new era. Tonight marks the beginning of a new era in the Florida wrestling industry. An entire new promotional group, including Miami promoter Al Ritchie, will strive to bring you the finest in wrestling talent available anywhere in the United States. So this is not Eddie Graham's office.
Son of a bitch.
Or I guess wasn't even Eddie Graham's yet in 64, was it?
Well, but now the question is, John, was this when the Florida office was forming?
Here in the near future, Bruno Sammartino, Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion, watch all newspaper advertising.
Okay, bullshit.
Gentlemen, Saul Weingroff for president. All right, let's go to one last. Let's end on a difficult one, just because you have had too much of an easy time lately. You're doing too well with ones that should be tough. This one, Jim, moving from a board. The first event, question mark. The semifinal.
Okay.
The semifinal, question mark.
What?
And finally, the main event, a question mark.
What?
This will be an extra Wrestle Royal. The Cowboys accident, and I believe it's Cowboy, yeah, right here. We are sorry to tell you, but Cowboy Luttrell has been injured in an automobile accident and cannot be here tonight. We do not know how badly he was hurt. The last report we heard was that he was bruised and badly shaken up, and the doctors say some of his ribs may be broken. Even though there are times when we wouldn't care if Cowboy did get his ornery neck twisted in the ring, we hope he will be all right, and I'm sure we would all like to see him again soon. The Cowboys accident knocked our main event for a loop, so the promoter, I will not name, put together something they think the fans will like, a Wrestle Royal, with 6 wrestlers and the referee in the ring at
An
once.
order of elimination determines the next 3 matches.
And the 6 wrestlers, Jim Klinstock, Gordon McKenzie, Elmer Estep, Ray Eckert, Bill Bartush, and Wendy Black.
What? How is that? How's Wendy spelled?
It's spelled the way you would think it would be spelled. That's why I'm looking. There's no pictures. There's just lots of question marks.
Okay. And that was Jim Klinstock, not Jay Klinstock, right?
Jim, that is correct.
Okay. Jay Klinstock was a Native American descent wrestler that got killed in a dispute in a dentist office in North Carolina in the late 40s. I have the newspaper clippings. Ray Eckert is probably the biggest name of any lasting legacy on this show. He was a top babyface that traveled around various places through the probably mid 40s to the late 50s, early 60s. Elmer Estep was a name. Billy Bartush was a name. Cowboy Luttrell was the biggest name of this whole thing, who was hurt, but since he was later on, I mean, Luttrell was promoter at one point. I believe he promoted Chattanooga, Tennessee for a period of time, and he promoted in a variety of different places, but he was the guy that eventually Eddie Graham took over from in Florida in the 60s. But if he was wrestling at this point, this has got to be in the 40s. And there's almost no way to determine where this could be. And really, a year on top of that. So now that I've admitted defeat in most every way, tell me the promoter and then see how close I can come to the goddamn location.
It just says Mr. Terry.
Mr. Terry is the promoter.
Mr. Terry is the promoter.
You sure it's not Mystery?
It's let me see if there's anything else that says anything about the promoter beyond Mr. Terry. I mean, there's jokes in this program. The Tramp says, "Would you please help a poor man whose wife is out of work. Before marriage, bushels of kisses. After marriage, a few measly pecks. Truth.
Well, that's because of the measly pecker, though.
Truth, crushed to earth, shall rise again. The eternal years of God are hers. But error rise in pain and dies among his worship.
What are you fucking saying?
These
to
are the
me?
things that randomly appear in this program. I can't find the promoter's name beyond Mr. Terry.
All right, I have no idea what the fuck's going on here. This is the first one I've ever had to throw up my hands and not even make a guess. I don't know what to say.
Jim, the date, October 24th, 1939.
Jesus.
The Roanoke Auditorium, Roanoke, Virginia.
Good Lord. Roanoke, Virginia, one of my old hometowns.
Well,
Yeah, that's that was something.
Well, there it is. Guess the program. You know, I really do love the fact that we hear from a lot of listeners who say, I don't know any of these people you guys are talking about, but based on what Jim explains, how he explains his thought process, what he talks about, I learned so much about people I never would have known before. So that's Guess the Program. And with that, the drive-thru is closed.
Close them up, baby.
Oh, someone bent. We will have songs next week because some new songs have been sent in. Of course, you can send yours to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com and many more questions next week. If you are in the Cult of Cornette Facebook group, the November questions thread, I don't even know if it'll still be open by the time this airs, but we'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, YouTube, the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Subscribe today. Full episodes, clips of the episodes, omnibus collections. For those of you that don't know, subscribe to the new official Jim Cornette Clips playlist. For those who subscribe to playlists on the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Patreon.com/Cornette. $5 a month. Get you access to the archive going back to 2013. Patreon.com/Cornette. Cornette's Collectibles always has great deals, but right now they got a great book. What's going on, Jim?
I've already plugged it 18 times on this program, JimCornette.com.
At JimCornette.com. Of course, the drive-thru is brought to you by the law office of Stephen P. New, 877-50-STEVE. Get even with Stephen at newlawoffice.com. Listen to the wrestling news each and every day wherever you find your favorite podcast. Your free morning wrestling newscast from the Wrestling News. But until the experience in a few days, and next week back here on the drive-thru, for Jim Cornette, I'm the great Brian Last. Tally-ho!
Oh!